pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Reverend Johnson. Thank you, Councilman Culver. The minutes from the December 5th meeting have been received, and they'll stand approved. There's no objections. We're now at resolutions and special recognitions. Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I could get Coach Patterson to come forward. We have some young people here who have brought fame and recognition to the community, and we would like to recognize those young people. And Coach, you want to tell us about it?
Yes, sir, Mayor and members of the council. We have two state championship teams with us tonight. Both of these teams are cross-country boys teams, and both of them have done quite well recently in the state championship held here in North Alabama. So at this time, I'm going to ask Coach Twigg for Randolph to come up, and he'll bring his team up and introduce them. And I want you to give a special applause to a team that has won the state championship 9 consecutive years. They're the Class 4A champions.
Thank you, guys. Apologize for my voice. I'm one of the victims of the flu epidemic that's going around this week. Yes, we were having an awesome season this past fall, and our boys once again were able to step up and put it all together. If I can have the boys actually start walking this way. I apologize. I'm actually wanting to make sure I got everyone's name and how they did. We have 11 boys that are coming up, 10 boys that raced, and one of them as our alternate. Ashwin Ramachandran, our senior, finished 75th. Roman Howrick, 10th grader, finished 68th. Raise your hand, boys. There you go. Be recognized. Luke Wellborn, 8th grader, was 37th. Alexander Young, 10th grader, was 25th. Colin Quirk, a freshman, was 19th. Matthew Phillips, 8th grader, finished 15th, and top 15 means you're all state. Jake Teachy, sophomore, was 11th. Fisher Lucas, junior, was 9th. Grant Ginsburg was 7th. And the runner-up, senior, Eshawn King.
How many all-state people?
I believe we had 5. Is that right? 5 in the top 15?
Raise your hand if you're all-state. There.
So make sure I got the numbers right. And yes, that's correct. That's our ninth in a row. So,
Coach Twigg, we'd love to just say congratulations. 9 in a row is just something that is really something that sets us on the map. And I want to say thank you to each of you for all the work that y'all did. It was a lot of long hours, a lot of long work, a lot of sweat went into this, and congratulations. You brought fame and fortune to this community. Thank you very much. Thank you. Would y'all go around and shake everybody's hand? Start with there and come all the way down. Congratulations. Congratulations. Man, y'all did good. Congratulations. Congratulations.
You stay with us, Don?
All right, at this time, I'd like to call Coach Justin Houston from Westminster Academy up here. Westminster is the Class 3A champions, and once again, this is another group that has excelled quite well and has brought a lot of recognition to our community. So, Coach, at this time, if you'd introduce your team and tell us a little bit about your team.
Thank you, sir. Gentlemen, if you go ahead and come up as I'm introducing you. This was Westminster's
first state championship in our AHSA history that we're very proud to have brought home our first blue map to the school. And as these gentlemen come up, these are our guys cross country team, which included, as Randolph did, 5 all-state runners, including the number 2 and number 3 runner in the state for 3A. And there are a lot of them.
We're going to have to move down for that.
We have Louis Hamilton, David Fertlinger, Preston Rowley, Luke Romine, Jason Farmer, J.C. Askins, Sheridan Croman, Seth Willis, Ben Croman, it's getting further down, Alex Gibson, David Brasher, Zach Hayes, Will Carroll, Ryan Ford, Ethan Gray, Sean Kelly, Eric Farmer, Jacob Mahasa, and Cameron Sullivan. And if you were one of our 5 all-state runners, would you raise your hand as well? Congratulations, gentlemen.
Coach, let me say congratulations for your first year to win the state championship. I think y'all also are going to be back here with some swimmers in a couple of weeks, because I think you won a state championship in that last weekend along with Huntsville High. So congratulations to each of you. Y'all worked hard. You made it happen. There are a lot of sweat and tears that came into this, so thank you for all that you've done for community, and I would love for y'all to come around and let the council congratulate you. I'm going to give you those.
I love y'all.
Great job. Thank you. Good job. Congratulations. Congratulations. Hey, great job. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations. Oh, no, thank you. Congratulations. Thank you, Doug. Great job. Good job. Congratulations, guys. Thank you. And y'all are all the ones who raised your hand as they gave your name out there. Congratulations. Hey, Cameron. All right. All right, if we could ask John Perry to come up. John has a recognition for a special group of guys who are Huntsville police officers, also known as the Blue Notes. And if you ever wanted to hear melodious tunes, you could listen to these guys all day long. John, mic is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Blue Notes 5, please come up. Our Executive Vice President for AUSA, the Huntsville Redstone chapter, John Wright, is with us. And we have the chief with us, too, if the chief will come up and join us. And John's going to open up with a couple of comments. Our Vice President.
Well, thank you, Mayor, Council. On behalf of the Association of the United States Army, the Redstone Huntsville chapter, it is with distinct pleasure that we recognize these 5 outstanding police officers who not only are outstanding citizens, outstanding police officers, but lend their voices to many an occasion. And recently they presented the national anthem at prior to the Veterans Day Parade at the Veterans Memorial. And we want to take this time to recognize them for everything they do, not only in the past, but present and going forward. We look forward to continuing to hear your voices.
In true military fashion, we have some nice certificates here. I'm going to read off the first one, but we have one for each one of you. Lieutenant Jeffrey B. Rice, Sr., on behalf of the Veterans Day Parade Planning Committee and the Association of the United States Army. We want to recognize the Blue Notes 5 for their support of the Veterans Week activities. Thank you for your performance of the national anthem during the parade's opening ceremonies at the Veterans Memorial Park. All those in attendance thoroughly enjoyed your performance and requested an encore. We thank you for singing for us, and we thank you for protecting us. God bless you. Let me read this.
One of the things that we do military, particularly in the Army, is we present a commander's coin. And on behalf of Ms. Chris McBride, our chapter president, we're presenting each of the officers with a coin. And the next time we see you, don't want to see you without it. Because you know what happens if you don't have it. Thank you.
I will say that the Blue Notes are at quite a few functions that we get to go to. They sing very good. One time they forced the mayor to sing with them, and they didn't sing as good as they could. It was not melodious, I don't think. But guys, we want to thank you for representing the city of Huntsville. We want to thank you for keeping the city of Huntsville safe. But also, you put us on another plane many times when we hear your singing. So thank you very much for the job that y'all do. I'm waiting for y'all to call me up. Thank you. And also, if we could have Miss Joy McKee come up. Joy has a special recognition for some people who've done some good things for our community.
Yes, Mayor. You know, our community, they just love our veterans, both the veterans that we honor that are with us and the veterans that we honor that have passed. And as cemetery director for Maple Hill and all the other cemeteries that the city owns, 9 total, we have a group that started Wreaths across America. And it's unbelievable. Mayor, they had over 200 people come out and laid all these beautiful, wonderful wreaths. And it looks so wonderful there, and the families are so proud, and it's a great way for us to honor our veterans. And at this time, I'd like for Joy to come up, and it's another Joy. Another Joy, and she can come up and, yep, she's gonna, there's Joy and the other Joy. She's gonna give us a little presentation, Mayor.
I really need to tell you a little bit about our history, because who we are is what we are. We started in 2007, quite accidentally. We're part and affiliated with Wreaths Across America, which is national and worldwide. They placed 540,000 wreaths across our nation this year. I would like my committee to come up here now. Jennifer, Phyllis, and Larry, wherever Larry is. These are the folks that made this happen. Jennifer sent me a picture of Arlington. I'm losing my voice too. Arlington Cemetery in the snow. I do have a husband that is buried there, so it was very meaningful to me. That is also the year that Wreaths Across America put that on the internet, and they saw it, and it just went with emails. She said to me, wouldn't it be nice if we could do that in Huntsville, Alabama? I said, never mind. We're military wives. We can do it. We will do it, and we did it. This year, placing over 4,000 wreaths in our city, about 6,000 in our county. We also went to other places and started them with the ripple effect. Now, would anybody that is a volunteer please come up here to be recognized? Doomady. This is a women's organization, a club, women's club. And they adopted a cemetery and put out over 300 wreaths. I think before I go on, I better introduce my committee. I haven't come up here, and then I forget. So I got all my notes and haven't looked at it. This is the co-founder, Jennifer Hames, and she is the vice president. Then our secretary. Come on up here. Then our secretary, Phyllis Montgomery, and our treasurer, Larry Mayer. Brian, you're part of this too. This year, we were very, very blessed. Oh, I need to thank, wherever you are, Mayor Tommy Battle, because there were times, where do you put several thousand wreaths during the summer? You put them in garages, you put them in attics. But Mayor Battle helped us find storage space. But this year, if Lontrell, if you would come up here, please. The superintendent of schools and Mr. Harris are both retired veterans. We now have a warehouse in the city schools where we're going to store probably close to 5,000 wreaths this year. And I thank Mr. Harris so much for doing this. Next is Brian Joseph. He is a manager. He's a manager of Michael's. Why is he here? Because we put out silk wreaths, which cost $5 total. The fresh wreaths are $15. Brian has helped us, giving us the wreaths almost at cost. So I want to recognize him. The next people are the Patriot Guard Riders, just 2 of them, but they're always there helping us. And then Dumedy is here. And I think that Redstone Garden Club, I've got I hold this, because the list, it's not that long, but I want to recognize everyone.
She's living dangerously, giving me a microphone.
You're right. Okay. The Veterans Museum, we always have worked on our wreaths there. This year, over 275 people helped us with the wreaths. That's just cleaning them up because they get really dirty again. Okay, this will be fast. You're not going to believe all the people that help us. The North Alabama Vietnam helicopter pilots, the Grissom Junior ROTC and Key Club, Westminster Christian Academy, Lifegate Academy, Huntsville Times, AL.com, U.S. Army active duty members, many churches, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Coast Guard Auxiliary, the Air Force recruits, the DAR, the UDC. And Rosemary, you come up here, you're a volunteer too. I think that about concludes, but I wanted you to realize we still need help. So next year, if you're feeling you want to place a wreath, it'll give you so many beautiful memories. Please come out and help us. Thank you.
If y'all want to go around and shake the council members' hands, we would appreciate it. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
That's one thing y'all are doing.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Thank
doing
you
it.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Hope you have a good
Thank
holiday.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Same to you.
She loves what she does. Thank you for helping. With the greenery on the mountain? We got 78 Chris Hollies from y'all. All right. Thank you.
Didn't know where you were. See you in the house. Good for you. Good man.
Thank you, Mayor Battle. We now have a presentation by Beth Sipple, Board Chair of the Women's Business Center of North Alabama. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Beth Sipple, and I'm honored to serve as this year's board chair for the Women's Business Center of North Alabama. I'm accompanied by Joanne Randolph, and she serves as our President and CEO of the organization. And I'm here to say thank you. Thanks to the mayor and to the council for all of your support for the small businesses in our community. We all know they are the backbone of this community. And I also want to recognize that this is our 10th year, so congratulations to the WBCNA. The WBCNA helps women and men start and grow a business. And we're located on the 3rd floor of the chamber. And I want to just spend a couple minutes sharing some of the highlights from our last fiscal year to share tonight. We trained and counseled over 2,100 individuals last year, and that's with the help of dozens of coaches and volunteers. We delivered 81 training sessions for business. We were awarded the 4th year contract for the VCSI Advanced Defense Technology Cluster Initiative, partnered with Geo Huntsville and Energy Huntsville, 2 of the mayor's initiatives, to host small business opportunity events. We partnered with PRCA for the 2nd annual Big Marketing event. And we also partnered with Still Serving Veterans to host the 2nd annual Empowering Veterans event. There are countless ways that the volunteers have helped in the organization throughout the year, and we couldn't do it without the volunteers and the support of everyone in Huntsville, and we look forward to a great 2014 where we continue to help grow small business. We've left the impact statement for the WBCNA with you tonight so you can review those results, and again, thank you for your support.
Thank you. We're now at Section 5, Business with Outside Legal Representation. 5A is a council decision of personal hearing for Mr. Brian Heath Maples of Water Pollution Control. This was held on December 12th, 2013. The chair moves to uphold the decision of the Personnel Committee.
Second it.
Mr. Olszewski has seconded. Discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Kling?
looking at that whole situation and taking into account the military service the gentleman provided to our community, and taking into account also that he used some poor judgment, I'd like to amend the motion to direct that the employee be enrolled in the City of Huntsville Employee Assistance Program for further review.
Second.
Okay. Let's see, we have a motion on the floor to uphold the decision of the Personnel Committee, and so basically you want to flip it around, so it might be better.
Would it be an amendment to the main motion?
Well, except that the main motion means that he wouldn't be here to go through that program, so.
Okay, I'll withdraw my motion.
Do you want to vote? Let's vote mine up or down, and then if it doesn't pass, then you can come back with yours. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So my motion is to uphold the decision of the Personnel Committee. Is there any more discussion on that? Ask for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, decision, the motion is passed 3-2 with Culver, Olszewski, and Russell voting for it. Mr. Kling and Dr. Showers voting against it. 5B is a council decision of personnel for Mr. William Sweetman, Community Development, held on December 12th, 2013. The chair moves to uphold decision of the Personnel Committee. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Olszewski. Discussion?
Mr. President, similar to the other one, I have an alternative motion I would offer if the main motion does not pass.
Okay. Further discussion on the main motion? All those in favor of holding the decision of the Personnel Committee signify by saying aye. Mr. Olszewski votes aye and the chair votes aye. Opposed, vote nay. No. The motion fails with Olszewski and Russell voting for, Culver, Kling, and Dr. Showers voting against. Mr. Kling?
Mr. President, given the information that came out concerning the employee and an accommodation for the City Americans with Disabilities Act policies, I would move that the employee not be terminated, but would be sent to a different position in city government, and that his salary would be frozen until such time that he was in a position that was above what the current salary is.
Mr. Kling has made a motion. Is there a second? Second motion, Dr. Showers. Discussion? Mr. Gelfand, will you advise the chair if that motion's in order?
Without there being a specific vacant authorized funded position into which he could be placed and for which he is eligible, it would not be an appropriate motion. And Mr. Mr. Thomas may want to speak to that issue as well, if the chair would.
Mr. Thomas?
Yes, sir. That would be inappropriate. We would have to actually, the individual would have to apply for a position for us to be able to put him into it. Since we're not accommodating him through the American with Disabilities Act, I cannot place him in another position.
Mr. President?
Mr. Kling?
I believe that there was discussion during the hearing where it came out that he was actually applying for lesser paying jobs that it appeared, at least on the surface, and I'm not the expert, but it appeared that he was qualified for. And given the, I think 11 months it took for him to get the requested ADA telephone, and given the fact that he had applied for a lesser position where, and again, I'm not the expert, it appeared that he was qualified for, I would think that there should be an accommodation or something that the city should do to accommodate this employee, because I think he'd been for almost 20 years as a city employee.
Mr. Kling, you have a motion on the floor, and Dr. Showers second that motion.
Yeah, we
I
were
don't believe it's
just in
appropriate.
discussion.
Could we withdraw that motion and then maybe come up with one that's appropriate, or do you want to, one suggestion is maybe to hold this decision until the next council meeting and you can work on a proposal that can come back, or if anybody has a better idea. Mr. Culver?
Yes, Mr. President, seemingly, and we've been down this road several times, and we want to be fair to all of our employees as well as non-employees who are applying for positions. With that being said, I want to enter a new motion to keep him in the same position that he's in as other positions become available, added with the additional tools that he needs to continue to do his job until such time a position, Mr. Thomas, becomes available, and if he applies, and if he qualifies. Okay? And we're going to put that back on you guys if my motion is upheld. That's going to fall back on the Department of Human Resources, our legal team, to do whatever it is that you all need to do to keep this young man employed with the city of Huntsville. So in short, Mr. President, my motion is to overturn, I'm sorry, that has already been done. My motion is
No,
to...
sir. Mr. Kling's withdrawn his motion. Now we've got a slate clean, so I think you need to move to overturn the decision of the Personnel Committee, then whatever you direct.
I'm making a motion to overturn the decision of the Personnel Committee, and within that same motion, to keep him in his current position until such time the aforementioned things take place or not take place.
Second.
Okay, that motion sounds appropriate to me. He can move to overturn the decision of the Personnel Committee and keep him in his same job, correct?
You can.
Yes.
You can. The question is, he was terminated, and now you're moving to overturn. Is it the will of the council to impose any discipline at all, or to just restore him to his position?
At this point in time, I'm not looking at any discipline due to the nature of the circumstances, and I don't want to rehash what we discussed in the meeting, but just in part that he is under the Americans with Disability Act. It does apply to him seemingly, and he apparently didn't, for whatever the reason, have all of the tools that he needed. So I'm not recommending any disciplinary action just to restore him back to his position. If I understand correctly, he's volunteering to move to another position when and if that new position becomes available, and if he applies, and if he qualifies. So that way, we are not usurping any of the future employees of the city of Huntsville or any current employees who may also apply for that same position, since we seemingly cannot create a new position for him. Is that not what I'm hearing?
Just one comment. We can't put any caveats on any individual. All our candidates are considered for any position as long as they meet the minimum qualifications. So to add a caveat, he would have to apply just like anybody else.
Right.
He would be considered along with anybody else.
Right.
And if he's the most qualified person, then the department head would make, or whoever will make that decision on that. but it won't be, we shouldn't put any caveats about any special consideration. We don't give special consideration for any individual.
And that is correct, Mr. Thomas, and this is why I'm making that particular motion to put it back on the Department of Human Resources and Community Development to either work with him and get him up to where he is productive or he stays there. Now, that's not to say, along with that, that if he were to do something wrong or not perform in his capacity, that new disciplinary procedures can't be brought against him. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that as of this date, we want to leave him in that capacity. And when I say with all of the tools that he needs, even including but not limited to additional training, tools that can help him in his job, whether it's a dictaphone. I hope that you have in the Department of Community Development administrative assistants or secretaries who perhaps can transcribe his dictaphone reports. I mean, I just feel it is incumbent upon the city to provide every willing employee with whatever tool they need to effectively do their job. And what I'm hearing is that he's having difficulty with report writing. We should be able to assist him within reason with what he needs to do his job. So that's my motion without any caveats.
Okay, and it was a very long motion, so I think your motion is just to overturn the decision of the Personnel Committee and put him back in his job.
That is correct, without any disciplinary proceedings.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Dr. Showers. Discussion of Mr. Culver's motion. Dr. Showers.
I do want a record to reflect that Mr. Sweetman, when he goes back to his position, Mr. Thomas, that he in fact will receive the necessary, as the councilman has asked, the necessary tools to do his job. The record did reflect that he had asked for help and he did not receive help in a timely way. So I hope that as he go back to the position, that we would accommodate him with the necessary needs to do the job.
Mr. President.
Wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Kling.
I got a question for Mr. Jovrion about this circumstance. Since in the hearing it had come out that the employee was trying to apply for lesser paying jobs because there seemed to be issues between the employee and the supervisor, is there any way that we can put a caveat in that if the employee did go to a lesser paying job that he could be redlined and his salary would remain level to what it is now?
No, sir. No, sir.
Even if it appears that it's not just going for another job as much as just trying to get out of that department?
No, sir. That would not be appropriate.
Call for the question.
Further discussion? Okay, the motion is to overturn the decision of the Personnel Committee. Everyone clear on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The chair votes no. Mr. Olszewski, did you vote aye? Vote no. So Mr. Culver, Mr. Kling, and Dr. Showers voted yes. Mr. Olszewski and the chair voted no. We're now at public hearings to be held. Now is the time and place for a public hearing on ordinance number 13-882, amending Article 3 definitions, amending Articles 23, 24, 25, 40, and 44, uses permitted, and amending Article 73 supplementary regulations to add regulations concerning mobile food vending units. This public hearing was set November 7, 2013 at the regular council meeting. Please introduce yourself and go ahead.
Ashley Nichols, Planning Department.
Welcome, Ms. Nichols.
The proposed zoning ordinance amendment is to add regulations concerning our mobile food vending units. We currently do not have regulations for the mobile food vending units, or commonly known as food trucks, within our current zoning ordinance, and this proposed amendment is to add those. Mobile food vending units is defined as a trailer or motorized vehicle designed to be portable and not permanently attached to the ground, from which only prepared food or beverages are peddled, vended, sold, displayed, offered for sale, or given away. Mobile food vending sites is defined as a collection of mobile food vending units clustered together on a single lot or parcel of land under common ownership or control. The proposed zoning ordinance amendment is proposing to add mobile food vending units within the following districts: General Business C3 District, Highway Business C4, Commercial Recreation C5, Commercial Industrial Park District, and also Light and Heavy Industry. We're also proposing the following hours for the respective districts: 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday through Wednesday, and also 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. Thursday through Sunday. The regulations for mobile food vending units include a minimum buffer of 100 feet as measured from the primary entrance of existing restaurants, cafes, and other food-related establishments. Vendors must provide public facilities no more than 500 feet in distance for employees of each mobile food vending unit. On major arterials, mobile food vending units shall be removed from the premises each night and are not permitted to operate in the required front yard. The mobile food vending units also must have written permission to vend on private property, no audible forms of entertainment, including music and loudspeakers. Also, all on-site preparation must be performed inside the primary vending unit only.
Are you finished?
Yes.
Thank you. Does anyone from the public wish to address the council on this particular issue? Ms. Reed, state your name and address for the record.
Jackie Reed, Jack Coleman Drive. My biggest question is about this: is the health department got enough employees to check on these mobiles that's going around everywhere in the city and outside the city and everywhere? I know the health department, and I know they don't have quite enough to take care of what they got in town. But will they, and who will, is going to make sure the health department checks these vendors? We don't want no sicknesses and deaths going on in this city over bad food. So who is going to assure us, whomever, that the health department's going to do a good job taking care of this? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Does anyone else wish to address the council on this issue? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Sir, I'm sorry. Go ahead. State your name and address.
Isaiah Ash, 1617 Brook Hollow Circle, Huntsville.
Welcome, Mr. Ash.
35816. I think this ordinance is similar to what was presented in the Birmingham News this week concerning the problems they're having with mobile units. And I agree with Mrs. Reed about the health department, since I'm a former employee there. And I know the regulations required in that, in regulating those specific trucks. So I think that we need to give it health department doesn't have that many employees. When I left there, it was low, and it's still low. So I think there's a question that we need to consider when you talk about these food vendors, vehicles, because they all over. We can't stop it because that's a revenue for the city. But yet we still need to see do we have adequate personnel to handle it. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the council on this particular issue? Now the public hearing is closed. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second. Ms. Nichols, there was questions about the health department. Have you been in contact with the health department, or could you shed some light on those questions, maybe answer them for them?
Yes, so we have all food preparation will be regulated by the Madison County Health Department. That's under their jurisdiction. Also, as far as the restrooms facilities, that's not only a county requirement, but also a state Department of Public Health requirement as well. So, and they also have guidelines that they have to follow that's set forth by the State Department as well.
Thank you. Council members, further discussion? Mr. Culver.
Thank you, Mr. President. Ms. Nichols, is there any reason why we have a 2 a.m. restriction on their hours of operation, Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
Yes, we did an analysis, and this is pretty similar to most other cities our size as well as larger. Most do not have a 24-hour type operation. There is a limit on hours, mostly ending at 2 a.m. or I've seen as late as 3 a.m. as well. Also, we did collaborate with the City of Huntsville Police Department, and they did agree that they feel these hours are sufficient for business.
Well, my reason for inquiring is because some of these food vendors, believe it or not, are doing they are doing a great service to Huntsville in that, some of the people who maybe party a little bit, they're getting out of the clubs, if they can get a bite of food, at 3 a.m. in the morning, 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I believe that would slow the absorption of alcohol into their bloodstream, which means they may not have an accident. So, I'm just going back. Maybe things have changed since I did that 20 years ago. But anyway, just food for thought. No pun intended. But
It's with our collaboration with the police department, also in evaluating previous issues that they've had before with prior food vendors that may no longer be in business. They didn't feel that we should extend our hours anymore, that 2 a.m. was more than sufficient. It also runs concurrent with the entertainment district as well.
okay. So if they have a line, for example, if someone is already in line and the vendor is just, wrapping up at 2 and maybe it runs over a little bit, is there going to be some strict adherence to that? I mean, what I'm getting at is somebody's on the square and, the clubs have closed and they already have a line and they're just trying to, satisfy the people.
Police enforcement would regulate that.
Okay, great. Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Olszewski?
I just want to say I've been a part of this whole process, Mayor, and your team is, this sounds like boom, 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 but I've been a part of this, and this has been knockdown, drag out from day one, and I appreciate all the effort y'all have put into it, and I know it's been painful, and I know you've checked every nook and cranny, and we're going to grow on this. There's something we're going to learn from this like we've learned from everything else, but I won't say this is the first cut, for like the 19th cut, this is pretty good, and I'm real impressed with the work y'all put into it. Thanks.
Thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Now is the time and place for a public hearing on ordinance number 13-884, rezoning property lying east of Highway 53 and on the north side of Maston Lake Road from Commercial Industrial Park District to Highway Business C4 District. This was set November 7, 2013 at the regular council meeting. Ms. Leto?
Lisa Leto, Planning Division. Yes, this is 19.29 acres of property. It's the hatched area you see here on the north side of Maston Lake Road, east of Highway 53. The rezoning request is from Commercial Industrial Park District to Highway Business C4 District. It's vacant land. It's the site of a proposed commercial development, and Planning Commission has recommended approval.
Thank you, Ms. Leto. Does anyone from the public wish to address the council on this particular issue?
Move to approve.
Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Dr. Showers has moved to approve. Is there a second? Second, Mr. Culver. Discussion?
Yes, could you tell the public tonight what's being proposed for that site?
The property owner has told us that a funeral home is proposed for that site.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Now is the time and place for a public hearing on ordinance number 13-886, amending the approved concept plan for the Villas at Timbers Edge Plan Development, formerly Timbers Edge Second Edition Plan Development, to change the housing type from 56 quad and duplex ranch condominium units to 53 single-family detached condominiums, and also amending the unified control agreement to reflect the new ownership of the property. This was set November 7, 2013 at the regular council meeting. Ms. Leto?
Yes, this is formerly the Timbers Edge Second Edition Plan Development. It was approved in 2008. And what you see here is the former Timbers Edge Plan Development. It was a total of 56 ranch condo units. And as the owner was developing the property, the streets and infrastructure are in, and in fact some of the concrete pads are in for some of the units. However, he lost the property to foreclosure. There are now new property owners, and they have submitted the villas at Timbers Edge, and they have changed that to 53 single-family detached units that you see here. They keep the same infrastructure and street configuration, but it will be single-family detached homes instead of the attached ranch condos. And Planning Commission has recommended approval of this change.
Thank you. Does anyone from the public wish to address the council on this particular issue? Public hearing is now closed. Chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling. Discussion.
The 56 squad duplex that was original on the table for approval, but now 53 units. You mentioned that there were concrete slabs that had already been prepared. What impact now will the fact that 3 lesser units are going there than previously indicated from the draft here?
Yes, sir. They'll have to remove those concrete slabs. Those will no longer fit with those new house plans. So they'll have to remove those concrete slabs at their cost. But they do plan on keeping the remainder of the street configuration and the infrastructure.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Now it's time and place for a public hearing on ordinance number 13-888, rezoning property lying generally on the west side of King Drake Road and north of Caldwell Lane from Planned Development Housing District, LUI rating 37 to Residence 1A District. This was set November 7, 2013 at the regular council meeting. Ms. Leto?
Yes, this is associated with the property that we just saw. It's this 0.91 acres that you see here, this hatched area. This was originally part of the Timbers Edge plan development. When the ownership changed, the owner of this piece of property, which is in part of this larger tract here, decided not to join in with the plan development. Therefore, his piece of property needs to revert back to its previous zoning of Residence 1A District. And Planning Commission has recommended approval of this.
Thank you, Ms. Leto. Does anyone from the public wish to address the council on this particular issue? The public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Mr. Culver, okay, Dr. Showers has made the motion. Mr. Culver, seconded. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Number 4 is ordinance number 13-888, rezoning land lying generally on the west side of King Drake Road and north of Caldwell Lane from Planned Development Housing District, LUI 37 to Residence 1A District. This was set November 7, 2013, the regular council meeting. Is that the same one?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, that's what I did. 5 is ordinance number 13-890, zoning newly annexed land lying generally north and south of Huntsville Browns Ferry Road, east of Mooresville Road, and north of I-565 to Residence 1A District, Residence 1B District, Residence 2 District, Residence 2B District, Neighborhood Business C1 District, Highway Business C4 District, Commercial Industrial Park District, Research Park Applications 2 District, and Planned Industrial District, and also rezoning property from Residence 2A District to Residence 2B District, and from Residence 2A District to Commercial Industrial Park District. This was set November 7, 2013, to regular council meeting. Ms. Leto?
Yeah, so this is part of the implementation of the master plan for Western Annex Land in Limestone County. An update to the Huntsville Annex Lands master plan was adopted by the Planning Commission in August of 2013. And part of that was a change in the zoning here. This is actually the phase 2 of this zoning of these annex plans. So what you see here is the overall plan, and the area that we're talking about tonight is primarily in the area of the option tract that you see here. Here's the option tract. So you can see there's various zoning districts. This is actually a total of 5,774.5 acres that we're addressing tonight. Of those, 941.7 acres is proposed to be zoned Residence 1A District, 192 acres Residence 1B District, 498.6 acres Residence 2 District, 202 acres Residence 2B District, Neighborhood Business C1, 84.2 acres, Highway Business C4, 560.9 acres, Commercial Industrial Park, 457.6 acres, Research Park Applications 2 District, 290.8 acres, Planned Industrial District, 2,237.1 acres. The rezoning portion is from Residence 2A to Commercial Industrial Park for 300.6 acres, and from Residence 2A to Residence 2B for a total of 9 acres. So these are the areas that you see here. Here's Interstate I-565, and here's Greenbrier-Powell Road, running in a north-south direction here. And Planning Commission has recommended approval.
Thank you, Ms. Leto. Ms. Reed?
I guess I was at the planning department and I had some questions also then. I'm glad to see all the acres. Who owns this property, or is that a bad question? Does the city of Huntsville own any of this property? Not even, none of that 1,500 acres that we bought from the Sewell family for $35 million. It's not a part of any of this. Is that true?
Ms. Leto, does the city own any of these acres?
If we do, it's very small portions. There's a park tract that's donated by the McDonald family. These properties still lie in the hands of the larger property owners out there, primarily the McDonalds, the Sewells, and the Hortons. The Sewells are still in charge of the option tract that you see here, which is approximately 1,500 acres.
Ms. Reed, do you have
Got
other?
some more questions.
Sure, go ahead.
And Ms.
Is
Reed,
this part of the Sewell, the 1,500 acres?
we do not own the Sewell property.
Yet, we don't.
We
Okay.
have never owned the Sewell property. We only have an option on the Sewell property.
I know. Well, that was my question when I went to the planning department. Were you really making plans for 1,500 acres where we hadn't paid for it yet? That was just a good question I tried to find out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Does anyone else from the public wish to address the council on this issue? Public hearing is now closed.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion by Dr. Shower, second by Mr. Kling. Discussion?
Yes, Mr. President.
Ms. Culver.
Thank you. Ms. Leto, I'm looking at this and I'm really excited about it, but I do have a concern about the planned industrial district. I'm good with commercial district, but is this like light industry?
It has, it's a much better district than light industry district. Planned industrial district does have performance controls, which light industry does not, and that's where you run into the problems when you do not have performance controls. So a planned industrial district is really basically what it says. It's a planned industrial district. So it will be a much higher quality industrial district than we're typically see in a light industry district.
Okay. It just concerned me because of all of the various residential areas in proximity, but we got it under control. Great. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mr. President.
Sure. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. We have no public hearings to be set. We're now at communications from the public. When I call your name, you have 3 minutes to address the council. When you go to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. And council members, we have 20-plus people signed up, so with your permission, I'm going to keep to the 3-minute rule and just so you'll have 3 minutes to address the council, and when you get close to 3 minutes, the buzzer will go off. Well, the buzzer will go off at 3 minutes, and I'll ask you to finish up. But we're going to be strict on the 3-minute rule tonight. Mr. Dave Hargrove. Mr. Hargrove, you'll start us off with your name and address, please.
Good evening. Happy holidays. I'm Dave Hargrove, 7141 Jump Street, Southeast Huntsville. I'm here tonight as chair of the Huntsville Committee of 100 to address the sales tax issue. And right out of the gate, I want to thank you, Mayor, for your persistence in informing our community about the need and urgency for these road improvements. And while this sometimes caused friction with the State Transportation Department, to your credit, you stayed in contact and constructive dialogue with Director John Cooper, and that led us to the proposal the council will consider tonight. And thanks for keeping us in the game. We were all frustrated several months ago when we learned that state-funded road projects would be delayed. And for that reason, the Committee of 100 asked Director Cooper to meet with our leadership to explain the situation. Director Cooper, as you know, is from our area, probably knows our economy and infrastructure needs more than most, and he made it clear to us that he is not going to run a department that overpromises and underdelivers. And we learned pretty quickly in that meeting the situation on road funding in Alabama is bleak and no significant change in sight. We do not adequately fund infrastructure in this state, and when demand exceeds supply, you have a system that can be corrupted by politics, and whichever squeaky wheel squeaks the loudest. And as we all know, every community in the state squeaks, including ours and the 3 other major metros. And if you polled the room today and asked who wants a 1% increase in the sales tax in Huntsville, I doubt anyone would raise his hand. I wouldn't. But this isn't about want. It's about wishing, it isn't about wishing things were different or easier. It's about whether the Huntsville metro area will have an infrastructure that continues to move traffic efficiently and safely, and whether it will encourage and not discourage economic development. Opportunity looks for communities that proactively address needs, and not communities that make excuses and wish things were different. Our infrastructure will need more than the state will provide for many years to come. And a 50-50 split with the state on these key projects during this next 5 years is the best and only deal really on the table. The plan is pay as we go. It addresses major gateways in and out of our city. Estimates indicate somewhere between 25% and 35% of the monies would come from people who don't live in the city of Huntsville, helping ensure that those who use the roads most will help pay for them. And perhaps most important, if we don't start paying for them now, we'll pay much more later as road construction costs, just like everything else in life, continue to go up. The Committee of 100 encourages the council to not only support this plan, but we hope you will do it unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrove. Rusty Loisel. Sir, if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Rusty Loisel, Help the Homeless Veterans. Tonight I'm here to say...
Sir, I need your address, please.
I'm sorry. Hearthstone Circle, South Huntsville. Tonight I'm here to save all of you some time. A close friend of mine, Dr. Harry Hobbs, came to me last week and informed me that some city officials have been asking, who is Rusty Loisel? Well, I guess when you ask for an accurate accounting of taxpayer dollars, you're perceived as a troublemaker. It's easier to try to dig up dirt on a person asking questions. Harry told me that the CAFE organization was in jeopardy of losing some funding because of his association with me. CAFE's goal is to give the Madison County youth tools necessary to become successful adults. I helped set up that organization, been there since day one. Because of the effort to dig up some kind of dirt on me, after years of helping build this organization, my wife and I have stepped away from the CAFE. I would not want any children to suffer because of the narrow-mindedness of an elected official. To save you some time, I'm going to tell you who I am. I'm a taxpayer. The last time I checked, all of you were put in office to help all of us citizens, whether we had a home or not. I'm a Navy veteran with an honorable discharge. I'm a dive master, rescue diver, and medic first aid. Before my retirement, I was a member of the Professional Association of Diving Instructors, and I was involved in numerous underwater cleanup operations. For years, I was a member of the United States Judo Association, and I've trained police forces, and we've also offered self-defense classes to the homeless. I'm retired from the construction trades. I've served on corporate boards and managed over 200 structures at one time with my staff. I was very active in the JROTC of Columbia High School. I worked alongside Chief Hobbs, Colonel Thurman, and Major Mike. I'm now retired and dedicate my life to standing up for those who need it. Our homeless veterans are treated like dirt. And of course, you don't see that. You see all the money that's funneled into organizations that are supposed to help, and they paint a beautiful picture of all the great things that they're doing. But until you get out there in the woods or in the downtown rescue mission and talk to these people directly and not the staff that's getting paid, you will never know what's really going on. You will always hear the peaches and cream stories that is usually followed up with, "We need more money." If you could just open your minds up to some common sense solutions, some of these problems might be fixed. If you want to know anything else about me, you don't have to go to Harry Hobbs. You can come straight to me. Have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Ms. Tara Bunyan.
Name is Tara Bunyan, and that's address 1222 Kingsway Road, Southeast in Huntsville. 'Twas the night before Christmas in scenic Huntsville. The people fast asleep, warm, cozy, and still. Their dreams filled with visions of a happy Christmas morn, with a tasty breakfast, hot chocolate, and presents galore. It's what Christmas is all about, they'll say, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Fun, family, food, and good cheer. Not to mention iPads, gift cards, toys, and sports gear. But what about giving to those in need, we reply, or is that a tradition that you've slowly let die? Oh no, say the people, we give to United Way, and we drop change in buckets, and we'll volunteer someday. Besides, those people live in countries far away. Here in America, who cares as long as I'm okay? We ask them, by chance, if they've seen any poor walking down the road or outside a shelter door. They scoff at us and turn their heads away. I'm sure there are jobs for them if they wouldn't drink all day. But what about the veterans who've served our country's needs? Don't you think it's wrong to see them living on the street? For them, not much chance of a visit from St. Nick. On Christmas, he spends time going down chimneys made of brick. Except, of course, for a caring few who visit them each week. Not in a sled, but SUV instead. He brings them friendship, food, relief. Long ago, a man traveled with a pregnant wife and found no rooms in town. He slept that night, too, in a humble place. But the child born there made it holy ground. I'd like to thank the council for this last few minutes of time to add my voice to those of others who have come to meetings here before. Many of you might think that this small group of people who speak about the homeless here in town are the only ones concerned. I'd like to use the rest of the time to say thank you to all the people who have joined us in support, though they are unable to physically be here. Amy Marcell, through her Tent City project, and all who donated to its efforts, have supplied homeless Huntsvillians with warm clothing, food, and other supplies. Blankets, hand warmers, even craft supplies for them to make sellable items. Elite Ranks Motorcycle Club of Decatur, who purchased and donated 2 hygiene shelters to Tent City from their own funds. Melissa Scopes, University Pickers, Eric Broyles and his brawny band of lumberjacks who cut and delivered wood to all of the camps. Kay Parker, Mary Westbrook, Loose Ends by MJ, Lisa Ratley, Tina Seaborg, Teresa Wilson, Meg Tilden, Rita Woods, Dave Harrell and family, Greg Allison, James Pate, Joy Smith Parker, Laura Bates and her church, the Earhart children,
Ms. Bunyan,
Noah.
are you almost finished? Can
Yes,
you finish
and
up real
Mary
quick?
Grace.
Okay.
These are just a few of the hundreds of people who have helped us and who continue to help us. We can help them with supplies, listen to their stories, and offer advice, but we cannot do any of these if they are run out of the only meager shelter they have, which is Tent City. Huntsville is a chance to show the world that it deserves the designation as a Compassion Action City. Let's not fail those who have put faith in this city, in this country, and in their fellow man. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Eric Broyles?
Eric Broyles, Mill Road. I'm here to also express my interest in not making the residents of Tent City relocate during the coldest part of the year. January 1 is the best of my knowledge, and I hopefully you guys can provide some insight as whether that's still going to continue as scheduled. And if we're going to do that, I'd like to understand why we're going to do that, and more specifically, why does it need to be in the harshest part of the year? That's not compassion, and I don't think that's what this city is about. We want to treat our neighbors like ourselves, and we would not want to be forced to relocate in that time of the year. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Gabby Vibert?
Gabby Vibert, Maple Hill Road. On any given night, 633,000 people are without a place to call home, according to the National Alliance to End Homelessness. 22% are children under the age of 18, 13% veterans, 42% are disabled and unable to work. In an article titled 5 Myths About America's Homeless, posted by the Washington Post, states, for 2 decades, the goal of our homeless programs was to first treat people for their myriad afflictions, substance abuse, say, or illness, and hope this would lead them out of homelessness. Now the attention has shifted to the end game, get people back into housing as quickly as possible, and the treatment for everything else can follow, and with greater benefits, end quote. The problem seems to be managing homelessness instead of ending it. When I say managing, I mean we dump money into rescue missions and temporary shelters rather than permanent housing. The United Way of Greater Los Angeles has found it's 43% more effective to provide homeless individuals with supportive housing than leave them on the streets constantly cycling in and out of costly emergency rooms and jails. Data also shows 80% of people in permanent supportive housing stay off the streets for good. Many people hold the notion that homeless people are dirty alcoholics sitting on a street corner begging for money to buy another drink. This isn't always the case, nor is it the main cause. Other factors include poverty, lack of affordable housing, job loss, lack of health care, mental illness, and domestic abuse. Many of our own homeless individuals in Huntsville are willing to work, which would help pay for housing if it were available. One individual is currently making paracord bracelets to sustain an income. These are one of the bracelets that he's making. He's currently trying to raise money enough to buy pedals for his bicycle and to have other expenses, including paying for a book that he had lost at the library. It had gotten ruined in the rain at Tent City. Another lady does beautiful artwork and accepts donations of art supplies. To me, these do not sound like individuals who sit on the sidewalk begging for money to buy their next drink. They sound like individuals who deserve a helping hand up, not a push down by being arrested and harassed. I suggest to the city of Huntsville a site that provides running water for bathrooms and showers, while plans for permanent housing are in the making. There are volunteers willing to help build the site for Tent City to allow for the bathrooms and showers if the city would be willing to provide the land and access to a water supply. As for permanent housing, there are grants available to turn unused buildings into permanent living quarters for the homeless. I think this would be a great opportunity to make use of empty buildings and solve issues with having a tent city. First, get to know whom you plan to help, then you'll know what they need help with. Thank you.
Is Chief Morris here? Chief, if you could come down, we need an update on what's going on with Tent City. If you or someone on your staff can provide that. Mr. Boyles had asked a couple questions about why do the homeless people have to leave Tent City and who's making them do that?
We're not going to move anybody forcibly out of Tent City. We're working with the homeless advocacy groups. I met with Mr. Richards from Oxford House the other day, yesterday as a matter of fact, to try to place all these people. Some people just simply don't want to live anywhere but outside. And it's state property. The state has said that they want to move, but we're working with them. We've talked to Dr. Roby to address any health issues, and it's not a simple problem to solve, but we've been working with the people that we feel can best help us relocate all of the people that are living there. There's not as many people there as has been. But as far as just going down there and picking everybody up and packing them up and moving them, we're not going to do that.
Thank you, sir. Anybody have questions for Chief Morris? Okay, moving on. Terry Michael. Ms. Michael, if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
I'm Terry Michael. I live at 115 Mill Creek Crossing in Madison. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. It is true that I do not live in the city, but since my personal information has been brought up, let me tell you that I have lived in Huntsville. My mother lives in Huntsville, as does my brother and my niece. My children have attended Huntsville City Schools. Matter of fact, they have worked there. And since we are talking work, I had a brother at SCI for many years, and I've been employed by businesses in Huntsville, and I owned a business located on Meridian Street for several years. I have paid plenty of taxes, and I continue to pay my share of sales taxes. If my ties to this city are not enough to justify my presence here tonight, then let me tell you about my last year and a half here in Huntsville. Through my work with an advocacy group here in Huntsville, my eyes were open to the plight of our students on the North End. I had parents and students alike coming to me with stories of harassment, bullying, and in some cases, outright violence that was being ignored by our school system. I thought there must be a communication problem. The schools would not ignore these things. So I began advocating on my own through my own organization, SOS Support Our Students. I was quite shocked to learn that, yes, in many incidences, the administration was more than happy to have problems and issues dropped. No resolution was necessary. Parents, they hoped, would get frustrated and just walk away. That led me to my dealings with the school board. Surely they will not want it this way. Sadly, I found that school administrations are a reflection of their board and their superintendent. Not only have we been hitting our head against a brick wall when it comes to issues of bullying and violence, but now it is very apparent that their lack of transparency continues in all areas when it comes to the North End. The JOJ situation is a prime example. So now we come to you. For as we all know, strong schools play a major role in attracting new businesses and families to the city. So what do the parents and the students on the north end get when they come to you? They get a mayor that supports teachers that have no education degree working in their schools. They get politicians who appear to care more about their political agendas than they do actually helping them. They get people more than willing to turn a deaf ear because they are afraid to touch anything attached to the word race. And they get way too many people willing to rubber stamp a corporate agenda at the BOE without doing any research into the false words that are attributed to this movement. I'm asking you tonight to please stop ignoring the race issues in this city. There's mistrust and false labels and stereotypes flying both from north to south and south to north. And maybe, just maybe, I do recognize it because I am an outsider. We need true and open dialogue that won't seek to mask things or change an entire community or people. This isn't a matter of saying one way of life is right or wrong. This is a matter of respecting everyone's opinions and viewpoints. This is a matter of respecting everyone enough to give them a place at the table. We are of different races. We come from things with our own perspectives that we mostly are ingrained in us as children, and only through true dialogue and a willingness to walk in each other's shoes are we going to truly make our schools, our students, and our city strong. I implore you all to stop with the stereotypes and the outdated notions of what they are like and reach out to one another and find the truth. When we have business people and politicians trying to be progressive and moving our city forward with thoughts and ideals that are very suppressive to certain communities, then I'm afraid, just like a math equation in Common Core, this just isn't going to add up. When it comes down to the tax-paying citizens, all truly want the same thing: a safe neighborhood, a good job, happy kids, and excellent schools. It is within our reach if we just choose to have real dialogue with real solutions. When we refuse to talk about race issues, things turn quickly into racism. We can't allow that to keep happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rick Wood. Is Mr. Wood here? Mr. Albert Peters?
My name is Albert Peters, and I live at 1701 Jeanette Circle. My interest is the proposed 7 cent or 9% sales tax, the addition of 1 cent. As I hear people express concern, there are a lot of folks are opposed to the tax under any circumstances. But there are two things that you could do to mitigate the opposition to this tax. One is to use all of the money for roads. The other is to end the tax no later than 5 years after it begins. Now, one thing that you could think about as far as using all the money for roads is North Parkway. South Parkway is either controlled access with 4 lanes plus 4 other lanes as service roads, total of 8 lanes, or 6 lanes where it's not controlled access all the way to the river bridge. Six lanes at least. Now, when you go north beyond Maston Lake Road, it pinches down to 4 lanes real quick. One thing I think you could do with that extra money that comes in during the each calendar year is to do some projects. If you get the state to do some matching, fine, but if you can't, 6 lane North Parkway from Maston Lake at least to Meridianville. And there's plenty, if you use the center lane or the median and put a concrete barrier there, there's already plenty of right-of-way. That's one suggestion for using that extra money for road. But that's an important thing to a lot of citizens, is using all the money for roads. The second point is stopping the tax at the end of 5 years. And we don't know what the economic situation at the state level will be. We don't know we really can't project what the situation will be 5 years from now. And I would say end it, and then we determine what the situation is at that time, and if the tax is needed, then start it up again, but have a bright sunset, not a clouded sunset. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peters. Paul Proctor.
Good evening, Mayor Battle, City Council. I have two questions. And
Sir, if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Paul Proctor, Gayhart Drive.
Thank you.
The two questions I have was referencing the town hall meeting that we had Tuesday. The first question is, at the town hall Tuesday, it was mentioned that the city had potential issues with property rights in reference to Masson Lake Road and North Parkway construction. Are you referring to the homes? Are the residents who could potentially be affected been notified? That's my first question, if you can answer that one.
If you'll go ahead, then we'll get the answers for
And
you.
the second question, if that isn't the problem, then why are the drawings still at the Department of Transportation?
Those are your two questions?
Yes.
Mayor, who would be best to answer those? Mr. Davis? Shane Davis, if you could introduce yourself, please, and answer those questions.
Shane Davis, Director of Urban Development. Can you repeat the first question? I couldn't hear in the back.
It was mentioned that the city had potential issues with the property rights in reference to Masson Lake Road and North Parkway road construction. Are you referring to the homes? Are the residents who could be potentially be affected been notified?
No, sir. I think the reference we were making Tuesday night was the letting or the start of the Maston Lake project that's proposed in the 5-year plan. And what we were referring to was the design is just now will begin should this pass tonight. And the only other thing that could delay the start was the acquisition of right-of-way. It's my understanding the current alignment that the state has proposed that no houses will be taken.
Okay. No houses will be taken?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Proctor. Brenda Waller.
I am Brenda Waller from 1300 Tina Joe, Southeast Huntsville, and I'm definitely coming out of my comfort zone by being here tonight. But I'm so used to talking to my family and friends about this, and so I thought, well, it's time for me to stop talking to them and come down here. And I am opposed to the 1 cent sales tax. I still get a little bit of sticker shock when I get the amount I am to pay with the 8%. And I feel that this is a time that people are distracted. It's Christmas, it's busy, and I think something this big should not be done during this time of the year. And so more people should be made aware of what's going on, and this should not be rushed through.
Thank you. Bobby and Carol Westbrooks. Mr. and Mrs. Westbrooks here. Isaiah Ash.
Isaiah Ash, 1617 Brook Hollow Circle, Huntsville, 35816.
Welcome.
Mr. President, I have just two concerns, and it has to do with streets repair. On Clubview Drive, south of Oakwood Avenue, that street has been in disrepair for almost 3 months. But I got a gleam of hope yesterday when the city came out and saw the asphalt, the corners of it, so that the vehicles would not experience a dip. I had to take several detours in going from Clubview Drive all the way to Brook Hollow to my home. I take University because the roads was in such disrepair. And I don't know how long it's going to take the city to repair that street. It seems like it's almost piecemeal. You put these asphalts down in the corners so that the vehicles would not experience a lot of bumps. That's number one. Number two, next door to my house is a vacant house. And a couple of weeks ago, there was a busted water line. and the water line, the city came out and repaired the water line. But the problem was when all that water came towards my property, it brought a lot of mud, soil, and everything. So I called the city and asked the city would they sweep it up. And the individual told me, said, the city is no longer has a sweeper. So I had to get out there and sweep all that dirt and mud right at the curb level. And it was almost 40 pounds. And I know the city doesn't lift over 50 pounds, but I was glad that they picked it up. Today I went out there and had to continue because there was so much mud that I had to continue to sweep it up and bag it, and so that the city would pick it up next week. So what's happening? Why is that the city is on city property? I got to get out there and clean it up. Why can't the city clean it up? That's my concern. Thank you.
Mr. Hatfield, if you could get with Mr. Ash, or you can tell the public what you do, and then get with Mr. Ash and help him with this issue.
See, Clubview is on our list to be resurfaced. Before we resurface streets, Water Police Patrol will go out and check the sewers, make any repairs. It is on our bid list. We're waiting for the contractor to continue. They're still working on clearing some streets. I don't know exactly who you talk to on the street sweeping. We do have some that we do. In cases of these things, we do street sweep.
They refer me to the utilities.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Hatfield, if you could just introduce yourself to Mr. Ash and make sure he gets taken care of. Thank you. John Sutherland.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is John Sutherland, 136 Breakwater Drive, Huntsville. I am here as an employee of the Chamber of Commerce of Huntsville, Madison County, where I serve as Director of Cummings Research Park. And it's on behalf of the Chamber that I'm here tonight to talk about the proposed tax increase. On December 3rd, the Chamber's Board of Directors, representing more than 2,100 other member businesses and organizations, unanimously approved its support of a 1-cent sales tax increase for the City of Huntsville to support ongoing infrastructure improvements and road projects. Our mission at the Chamber is to promote and prepare our community for economic growth. In the areas of the country where we actively recruit industry and people, our great selling points have been our short commute times, combined with a very modest cost of living, a vibrant arts community, great schools, and affordable and diverse healthcare offerings. We are living right now in the fastest growing community in Alabama, which is located in the fastest growing region of the United States of America. And we expect to see continued growth of our jobs and our population. So consider this: in 1990, the Huntsville Metropolitan Statistical Area, which includes Madison and Limestone County, City of Huntsville and City of Madison, was comprised of 294,353 residents. By 2000, that number had increased to 343,972. In the 2010 census, the Huntsville Metro was at 417,593. The last recorded census estimate in 2012 shows the Huntsville Metro population has increased to 430,734 people. So we do know that the growth is happening. We see it. A 20-year, 22-year trend is more than a trend. This growth in Huntsville, in our area, accounts for about 25% of the growth in all of Alabama since 1990. My daughter was born in 2000. We have added nearly 100,000 people since that time. She just turned 13. We also need to consider that 43,000 people drive into our community every day from outside that two-county metro. 43,000 come in every day. So we're growing. Our roads are already more crowded than ever before. This traffic buildup that we have, it will not stop, and it will not resolve itself. It is up to you to continue what this community has historically done very well, and that's invest in our future. One of our peer communities, a metro that we compare ourselves to because it's also a knowledge-based community, is Austin, Texas. Austin has long been considered one of the best places to live, work, and play, but Austin did not invest in that infrastructure, and a report came out this week that shows for them to be able to move traffic now, it's become one of the most heavily trafficked area of congestion in the United States. To move traffic, you're going to have to remove about 40% of the traffic off of the road just to be able to move the traffic forward during the work days. So they missed their chance. Let's not miss ours.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Gary Brashers?
Gary Brashers, 405 Thornton Avenue. Thank you again for the opportunity to come. We're getting to know each other from these conversations. Dr. Showers, I apologize. I meant to make your town hall meeting and was unable to. So I hear that you had a little bit larger group than Mr. Kling had at his group. So
We had quality. We had quality people.
we had quality. The people there were outnumbered by the members of the Huntsville City government. So it's a privilege to stand before you this evening. I'm going to ask you to stand in the gap for those who are not part of the chamber. Liberty and freedom are not the same thing. Liberty is freedom plus morality. That shared morality that we shall not lie, we shall not steal, and we shall not murder. That thing that says that I am free to do whatever it is I want to do, but I will not because some things are wrong. See, there are only two things that would stop a man from going next door and murdering his neighbor. One is the understanding that a person can go there, but he will not do it because it's wrong. The other is that your neighbor is well armed. Just like freedom and liberty, you are charged by the Constitution with protecting the citizens of Huntsville from an ever-increasing and out-of-control government. You see, the government is in control of the sword, but is also given the task of using it. You are also charged as the stewards of the taxes that you raise from the citizens. And you are charged with how those taxes are used. Even with a 10% tax in Birmingham, Montgomery, Mobile, they have lousy roads, as you have stated. So it's not the amount of money that you raise, it's how it's used and the priorities in which it is used. Everybody talks about growth and responsibility. I'd ask you to think about, again, as I've stated before, those individuals who aren't wealthy enough to handle this change. Yes, I agree with you. We need to be looking towards the future. But at some point, government has to stop and say, our priorities are wrong, and for us to go forward, we need to do something different. Thank you. I hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. I hope you decide not to vote for this tax.
Thank you. Sandra Childress.
My name's Sandra Childress. My address is 3217 Yale Circle. I'm here with Operation Stand Down Huntsville. I know a lot of you have heard of it, and some may not have heard of it. We have been in operation since 2006. We help the homeless veterans get off the streets. 80% of the homeless veterans that have came through our organization have gotten off the streets. If we do not get these veterans a place to stay and keep them in one location so that we can continue to get them off the streets, we're going to lose them forever. That's what I'm here for tonight. I wear a patch because I am with another organization, and I want everyone to see. We also help in other ways. These are not the only thing they do. They get out, they pick up cans. They do anything that they can just to survive. I'm out there more than 1 day a week with these veterans. They know my name. They know my face. They're my family. They're your family. I guarantee you, no one sitting up there would be willing to go out there at that camp and stay for 1 weekend and live with them. See how they live. Just 1 weekend. You can't do it. If it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be here. You would not be free. All I'm asking is for the council to get one location. There's plenty of empty lots, plenty of empty buildings in Huntsville, in the county, that we can get. We have everyone at these camps that can build things. They can build buildings. We even have organizations that's willing to build them restrooms, showers, anything they need. Anything. All we ask is the council to help us. Help them. They are America. Not you, not nobody else. Nobody sitting in this room is America. The ones that have went out there and that have fought for us is America. Please help us find a location and do not let them be lost again.
Thank you. Mr. David Pinkleton.
Good evening. My name is David Pinkleton. I reside at 1000 Airport Road, Huntsville, Alabama 35801. I rise again in opposition to the proposed 1 cent sales tax increase. A couple points that I would like to bring to everyone's attention tonight is last week we were informed that there are potentially another $500 million worth of road projects that would need to be funded after the initial $250 million that would take place. And it has since come to our attention earlier this week that that has ballooned to $1.5 billion. So that has nearly tripled the amount of road projects that we have been disclosed that are needed to occur in the coming 15 to 20 years. So I would just say that's further evidence that when you give government a new line of revenue, they will find ways to spend it. They're not going to use it to pay down debt. They're not going to save it. They're going to spend it. And I need to caution everybody against that. Second off, I would argue that going forward with the tax increase also sets a dangerous precedent when it comes to road dollars that are allocated in Montgomery. Granted, we did not get our fair share this round, but what incentive does Montgomery have to give us money in the future if they see that Huntsville is coming up with a line of revenue for themselves? They'll say, hey, Huntsville's got the revenue. There's no need to give them the money that they've paid for gas tax. We'll send it elsewhere. So I think that definitely creates a dangerous precedent. And then I found it very interesting today, late this afternoon, it came to our attention by the wonderful Steve Doyle, who's actually in the back, about a new apartment restaurant project named The Avenue in downtown Huntsville, and it's actually going to be discussed later tonight. It will be a proposed $30 million mixed-use building at the northwest corner of Holmes Avenue and Jefferson Street, which will include about 200 loft apartments, 20,000 square feet of retail and restaurant space, and a large on-site parking garage. And I find it very interesting when you continue in the article. It says, the agreement with the city calls on the city to improve the area surrounding the avenue with heavy landscaping, brick-trimmed sidewalks, new street lamps and traffic lights, and more on-street parking. Huntsville would also build a new downtown road behind the apartments connecting Jefferson Street and Spraggins Avenue. Manager of Planning and Zoning Administration Marie Bostic, who I knew was here earlier, I'm not sure if she still is, said the city's infrastructure commitments to the Sealy project are estimated at $2.8 million. So once again, we have the city partnering with private development, and I know we're all for private development, but again, we are providing them city taxpayer dollars so that they can continue on with their development. So once again, when we talk about where can we make cuts in the budget, here's $2.8 million that we could cut out that we could use for other road projects. So once again, I just wanted to bring this to everybody's attention. Nothing new really to reiterate, but once again, this is just unfortunately an opportunity for the taxpayers of Huntsville, like you said, yes, to get screwed, unfortunately. So the message we leave is no new taxes.
No new taxes, no new taxes.
Janae Ganoush.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Janae Ganoush. I reside on Bluff Drive, and I am president and speaking on behalf of South Huntsville Civic Association. I am here to represent the association. I am entrusted not to stand here and give you my own opinion and act on my own accord for what I believe is best for the community, but to represent those who entrust me to do so, much as you are. Therefore, rather than pontificating on my own opinions, I am going to share with you the most recent communications, excerpts from, that we have received from citizens of Huntsville. As of this morning, these were the most recent communications we had received. And I will not name those citizens who shared this with us because if they wanted their names out there, they'd have sent it to you themselves. Citizen 1, the state of Alabama is laughing at this situation. They'll use the money that was actually our share of state money for roads for other parts of the state. Thanks, Huntsville, for helping to pave all of Alabama. Citizen 2, our own people are acting like Congress. Tax, tax, tax. Let's see how a brick contributed to my lifestyle and how there are more trees downtown than in South Huntsville. Is it possible to secede from the Huntsville city? Citizen 3, Washington, D.C. style politics have arrived in Huntsville. A small group of people in power have decided to force the residents of Huntsville to pay for their, quote, vision, whether the residents want the vision or not. Citizen 4, if anybody actually believes politicians will ever sunset an in-place tax, he is delusional. Citizen 5, sounds as though we need to call a doctor to see about some of our council people because they've been infected by the Washington, D.C. spending, selfish, idealistic, self-serving bug. Oh me, thank heavens for elections. Citizen 6, which part of we are hurting don't our city council understand? Citizen 7, thanks for the information. I understand this better now. I am against the tax increase. Citizen 8, I just sent John Olszewski an email telling him I support the 1-cent sales tax increase as I want to see Huntsville grow and prosper in the future. I could go on, but my time is up. The list goes on and on. Every other comment on here is against the tax increase.
Thank you. Ms. Jackie Reed.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I got to let you hear and see what my shirt says. My daughter bought it at a thrift store, and I told her I'm going to wear it tonight, and it says, "Built for Battle." I'm sorry, you may take that wrong, and I hope you do, because I'm not here. I am not here to support the battle and you all's administration tonight. I want to tell the citizens of this city that the mayor and all the city councilmen have your Christmas present tonight, and it's on this agenda. It's a 9% sales tax, 1% increase. You elected him. I didn't. I voted for me. So think about it. 3 of them's up for re-election. I know Mr. Olszewski, he's not going to be up and running, but Mr. Covert and Bill Kling will be running again. Maybe not Mr. Covert. It's Mr. Marcell. And Mr. Russell, I will agree on you about this 5-year tax, and Mr. Albert Peters. I mean, if you're going to do it that way. That's the only way. But I want to start over. I didn't start tonight with thanks for allowing public input. I got to back up a little. It's Christmas, and I wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a safe and Happy New Year. Remember, love, the greatest gift of all. I do love you all, no matter how hard. It's tough love. Trust me. It's the greatest gift of all. And remember God during your celebrations. Without Him, we have nothing. I am strongly opposed to this addition of this sales tax because the economy is bad. And the first of the year, the Obamacare is going to take our health down. He's going to kill the old folks. And I believe he's going to sock it to the young folks. So you better think twice about your paychecks. That's what I'm thinking about out here. When I see 5,000 acres annexed tonight out there in the county, who's going to build them roads for all those developers that plan development tonight? 5,000 acres. There got to be some roads put through there. And I want to thank this gentleman tonight that said all about downtown in the city of Huntsville. I believe every word he said because that's on the agenda tonight. P, resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an option agreement to lease real estate between the city of Huntsville and Sealy Property Development downtown. City attorney. Where are these deals made without having a work session and I don't even know about it and know what's going on? What kind of deal are you making without the public even knowing about it? I know you can make real estate deals and do all kinds of things, but you've sat here and made a deal tonight on this agenda. Going to build roads, put more brick. We just put $4.9 million in brick downtown. For the other apartments, $5 million coming from council court. I've done preached this one session before. I'm on a preaching session again tonight. Why in the world did you, Mayor Battle, ever get that property appraised, as I asked you, across the street from the federal courthouse, and get somebody besides Garrett and Garrett to appraise it?
Ms. Reed, your time's up. Can you finish
Hey, I
real
need
quick?
more time tonight. It's Christmas.
I'm sorry.
Y'all didn't give me enough time.
We have to treat everybody fairly tonight.
One more minute?
No, ma'am.
I bet you all live to regret this and remember it. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Rosalind McDermott.
Rosalind McDermott, Bonita Circle 35801. I sent all the council members a study showing that states and localities need to rely less on sales tax to finance infrastructure. And this is the reason Alabama does not keep up with its infrastructure, because sales tax revenues do not keep up with needs over time, and Alabama is heavily reliant on sales tax revenues. And those sales tax revenues heavily burden lower income residents, making it harder for them to work their way into the middle class, and in effect, building a brake on growth, and in turn, the revenues the states and localities are counting on. Low-income Alabamians already pay the most income tax in the country. The poverty rate measured in Madison County is already 13.8%. Unemployment is still 6.2%. K-12 free or reduced lunch recipients comprise 40.1% of our children. The average income in Southeast Huntsville is not as high as you might think. It's around $54K, but in North Huntsville, it is half that. And you're asking seniors on limited income and stuff to pay another $6 to $15 a month towards roads that don't directly benefit them. But the analysis of state sales tax by the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, which I sent you, says that the number one way to reduce reliance on unreliable sales tax is to broaden the sales tax base to include more services. Other localities do this, including in Alabama. Then the people that are profiting from the spending on roads would be giving a little bit more back to the city, and inequalities issues would be addressed, both of access to the governing ears and of income, because there is definitely the perception in this town that this was announced as a done deal, and no one but the contractors had any input from the beginning, and that's a consistent problem here in Huntsville, and we've been talking about it for half of last year. But raising Huntsville's walkability index should be a higher priority. That's an intention-getting thing to people who want to move here. Until safe walking conditions and public transportation are spelled out as top priorities of the other things part of the plan would go to now, which we heard more roads, more than just roads, and not the generic terms industrial incentives, which is a code for subsidies, and along with the way too generic term capital needs, the people cannot be sure that this increase in sales tax will actually meet their needs, benefit them directly, and not just benefit the consultants, the contractors, and the developers.
Ma'am, can you finish
one
real
more
quick?
sentence.
One more sentence, go ahead.
If Huntsville wants to be the state of Alabama, the star of Alabama, leading the way, start by beginning the end of the reliance on sales tax for funding infrastructure. Take a little more time to find alternatives to this, or make it lower and add some of this taxing on services. I'd like to see a commitment from the mayor to that before.
Ma'am, that's more than one sentence. Ron Deemer, I believe it's about Kildare Street fence.
Good evening.
Good evening.
To the president and the mayor and the rest of the council, I appreciate it. And of course, I've had some dealings. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, and if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Ron Dearmer, 2101 Kildare Street.
Welcome.
Thank you. You all have this package in front of you?
No, we don't, but
you don't? Well, was that going to kill my time here? I'll start.
Go ahead, go ahead.
The first picture there is a picture of the area that we're talking about. And of course, you can see there's some real issues there. A lot of, there was a stop work on this facility, or on their fence, back in 6 or 7 October. And you can see that they've done a tremendous amount of work since then. So I don't know whether that actually held or what the deal is on that. If you flip the page, you'll see the actual property that I'm in question with, and of course my property's on the right side of that first picture. The next picture shows you the 23 feet. You're aware of this. I was here some months ago and we talked about that. But that 23 feet is actually city property. You flip the page, you'll see again the city property. The left and right side of that green stake there, the left side is my property, the right side is Dwight Wright's property, and of course everything in front of that stake is actually the city property. That should have remained in about the condition it is right there, but it has not. They put that fence up there, and of course it's changed quite drastically here recently. As you flip the page and you see this picture, this is what that property should look like today if the stop work would have actually stopped. But being that it didn't, as you flip the page again, you'll actually see what's happening to that property and the water meters there. And as you know, that's under that licensing agreement that the city has. So that was supposed to have stopped, but it did not. You can see the railroad ties there, and also my water meters have been consumed by that. The next page, you can see the water meters again. I took those pictures just a few days ago. In the process of doing that, I was naturally greeted by the individual we all know that's familiar in the area. Welcome to the fight, city. Because it's just going to be a knockdown, drag out before it's all over. But I do appreciate your help. You've been helpful. It's just that now I have, the last time I was here, I asked to make sure that I maintained my ability to use my water meters, and that's now in jeopardy, if you can see those railroad ties there. The reason it's in jeopardy, if you flip the page, multiple reasons really. One of them is those black widow spiders, and another one is naturally the fact that you've got some OSHA problems there. You also have some lease problems. And cutting to the chase, the last page there, we need to be able to comply with both OSHA, which is CFR 49, and also the Federal Disability Act. And it's not doing either one of those. Disabled people cannot get into those water meters at all, and I happen to be one of those. I'm pushing 70, believe it or not. And when I have a real arthritis rear up, I could not even get in to shut off some of my own water meters. So again, you've helped me in the past. I've got my understanding is Shane Davis was involved, and the last time you turned me over to him, he was instrumental. Then they passed me off to Martin, and now my understanding is it's passed off to the legal department.
Okay, sir.
What I would like, one last thing.
Quick,
and
one
then
last sentence, please.
I would like to have a point of contact for the legal department so that I can work with them. And of course, I'd also like to thank Richard Showers and also Bill Klein. Both of those are my representatives, and they've helped me out in the past. And I do like these 2-minute episodes that you have. Thank you very much, and thanks for doing a good job. I know you're getting a little heat tonight, but I think you're doing a good job overall.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr.
And
Jeffron,
Merry
could you
Christmas,
give
everybody.
a contact in the legal department?
Mr. Dearmer, you can contact me, and if you have a pen, my number is 256-427-5026.
Thank you.
Okay, that ends the communications from the public. Do you need a recess, Ms. Shoemaker? Okay, we're going to change paper. We're going to meet back at 8:05. We'll take a recess till 8:05. Ask that the chambers come to order.
Excuse me.
We're now at item 8, Huntsville Utilities. We have 5 items. Mr. Yell, if you could give us a brief overview of each item, please.
Okay, excuse me. Item number 8A is for purchasing of some furniture for our main lobby downstairs. Current furniture and everything's been in there for over a decade since we renovated, and it's starting to show wear, and we need to replace that to make it more presentable for our customers. We have a resolution for our annual maintenance support and software for our telephone systems that run the PBXs and all the systems throughout the company. We also have a resolution authorizing approval to purchase licensed software. This is for our engineering software, the Bentley system. Allow our engineerings for all 3 divisions to do the work, and it works with our other software in the company. Also, we have 2 agreements with TVA. One is to participate in the gas water heater new homes program. Previously, TVA wouldn't give incentives to builders if they use natural gas. Now they will, because that'll help their load profile in the future. And also just some revisions to some language to the green power providers contract with TVA.
Thank you. And for the record, Mr. Oshevsky has recused himself from this issue and will abstain on all votes. Council members, there's 5 items. Are there any items you'd like to hold?
E, I would like the explanation on item E.
Yeah, we'll come back to E. Are there any others? 8A is a resolution authorizing approval to purchase chairs and side tables for the downtown main building lobby. B is a resolution authorizing approval for annual maintenance and support for hardware and software for telephone systems. C is a resolution authorizing approval to purchase license subscriptions for software. And D is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with TVA for participation in the gas water heater new homes pilot program.
Move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion by Dr. Showers, consolidate and approve 8A through D. The chair seconds that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record indicate it passed 3-0 with Mr. Oshevsky abstaining and Mr. Culver not present. 8E is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute the proposed green power providers amendatory agreement with TVA, amending the rebate portion of the agreement. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Dr. Showers. Mr. Yell, Dr. Showers, you have questions for Mr. Yell?
Yeah, just explanation.
Yes, sir. Green power providers is where customers have been able to generate some electricity and sell it back to TVA. And this is just cleaning up some of the language in the contract. It deals mainly with TVA and vendor billing provisions. And it just basic language cleanup is what that was for.
Thank you.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Let the record indicate it carried 3-0 with Mr. Olszewski abstaining and Mr. Culver not present. Board appointments to vote on. 9A1 is a resolution to reappoint Barbara S. Gamble to the Education Building Authority for the City of Huntsville Faulkner University for a term to expire November 12, 2019.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Showers, second by Mr. Kling. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. 2 is a resolution to reappoint William Enrick to the Education Building Authority for the City of Huntsville Westminster School for a term to expire November 12, 2019.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Showers, second by Mr. Kling. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. 3 is a resolution to reappoint James Bailey to the Bingo Review Committee for a term to expire April 8, 2015.
So moved.
Approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. Kling, second by Dr. Showers. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Are there board appointment nominations?
Yes, sir. I would like to submit Dr. Oscar Montgomery to our Public Building Authority of the City of Huntsville for a 6-year term.
Okay, Dr. Montgomery's been nominated. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, we're moving on to approval of expenditures. 10A is a resolution authorizing expenditures for payment. Mr. Kling.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move for payment of vouchers in the amount of $9,703,093.22.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kling, second by Dr. Showers. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Mr. Kling, do you have a Finance Committee report?
Yes, is Mr. Randy Taylor in the room?
They're going to get him. We can go ahead with 10B1 is a resolution approving travel for Councilman Will Cover to attend the 2014 Alabama League of Municipalities Annual Convention held in Mobile, Alabama on May 3rd through 6th, 2014.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Dr. Showers, second by Mr. Kling. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It carries. We have a resolution approving travel for Councilman Richard Showers Sr. to attend the 2014 Alabama League of Municipalities Annual Convention held in Mobile, Alabama on May 3rd, 6th, 2014.
So moved.
Second. Mr. Kling made the motion. Mr. Culver, second. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Kling, you have the Finance Committee report?
Mr. President, I want to turn the floor over to Randy Taylor, Finance Director, and let him give us an update on revenues, I think, for the month of November.
Yes, council members and mayor, we have just one figure to give you. That's our sales tax information for November. We were 4.7% higher than the previous November, and that brings our year-to-date figure, this includes 2 months now, to 4.2%. So our budget requirement is 3, so we started the year in a reasonably good position. So that's all I had.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Communications from the mayor. Mayor Battle.
Mr. President, thank you very much. Ms. Reed, Ms. Battle texted me and said that she was the only one built for this battle and hands off. She did do that. It has been a week of trying to put together ideas on how we move forward as a community. And this has been a week that, I've told this story many times. I'm about to tell it again in just a few minutes. We're going to talk about our roads and our road plans and why we do our road plans, why we try to look 10, 15, 20 years ahead for our community, why we're in the position where we have to propose a 1-cent sales tax so that we can end up with roads that will take care of us for the next generation. And then beyond that, there are roads that still have not been addressed that we still have to address. As a community, we have to do that. If we want to be a growing, prosperous community, if we want to maintain our quality of life, we have to do that also. So we will talk about that in a few minutes. This has also been a week of holiday celebrations. Mr. Hamilton and I, Colonel Hamilton and I, have been to 3 lunches, 4 breakfasts, and 6 celebrations at night for the past 3 or 4 days. We will be ready for Alabama Scale Back when it comes around in January. And we will, he's too slim, we can't put him on our team because he'd probably hurt us, but we're looking forward to next year. I think next year is going to be a great 2014 for us. I think it will be a prosperous 2014, and I think we will see as a community ourselves move forward. We have some good announcements on the horizon that I think will play out very well for us. And, you know, we've been blessed. We sit here in a community, gentleman and I were just talking a minute ago, they don't realize what traffic is till you go to Chicago or someplace like that. We are blessed to have an 18-minute commute to and from work. We're blessed to be here in Huntsville where you have a good job base, where you have a good quality of life. We want to keep that. So I wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and a prosperous 2014. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Culver.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would, too, like to wish everyone a very, very happy holiday season. Also tonight, in fact, if the opportunity presents itself, I will leave the council early to present a honorary certificate. Jazz musician and singer, Freddie Cole. Some of you may know Freddie Cole. He's the brother of Nat King Cole and the uncle of Natalie Cole. He is in Huntsville tonight along with Curtis Boyd, Randy Napoleon, and Elijah's Bailey at the Cooper House. And this concert is a benefit concert. We are raising money for HENS, Huntsville Essential Needs. You may have heard we introduced it and talked about it briefly at the last council meeting that we would be having this tonight. Commissioner Roger Jones, County Commissioner Roger Jones, and myself are working with Howard Bankhead and Freddie Cole and the individuals I've named. Christmas Charities is a benefit of this program. And if you know anything about Christmas Charities, you know that it's not just for the holiday season, it's year-round. So I can't tell you the number of canned goods that we've raised and the clothing and other essential needs for our homeless individuals, for families who are not homeless, for our homeless veterans. That is the whole purpose of this. And Macedonia Church, likewise, has partnered with us on this. So I'm delighted and honored to be able to present this tonight. Sorry, lost my train of thought. Another junior moment. I can have so many of those before they turn into senior moments. But anyway, I wish you all a happy holiday season, as I've stated already. And that's it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Culver. Mr. Kling.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd like to share with members of the public just some of the thoughts and the process that I've gone through over the last 2.5 weeks looking at this issue that's come up before us this evening. First of all, I was very sick to my stomach when I heard originally that the state backed out of a $450 million 10-year agreement that we had to take care of state roads here in the city of Huntsville. I know that they are saying that they have financial issues and financial problems, but I guess conversely, I think we've all heard about the bankruptcy issues that Jefferson County had. I had some Jefferson County bonds and was watching very carefully to see what was going to happen with those bonds, whether they were going to default or not. Jefferson County was able to work things out and get their act together enough to where I was paid 80 cents on the dollar for the bonds that I had, plus all of the interest that had accrued. If Jefferson County could do that, why can't the state of Alabama do something similar? We pay taxes. Look around here in the city of Huntsville, the Governor's Drive Road Widening Project, at least 75%, maybe even more, of the money that went from California Street to the Parkway was made by the city of Huntsville taxpayers. And that's not a right thing that we'd have to pay. That's a state road. Every Parkway overpass that I've seen or that I've been involved here in the city of Huntsville, I've noticed it all has at least 20% city of Huntsville money. So again, let's talk about fairness and the way we're being treated. I have concerns. I think it's been mentioned about, other people in the audience have mentioned about but I do have concerns about the plight of the elderly, the low-income elder who are on fixed income. And I've heard some suggestions from people in the audience, and sometimes the best ideas I get, I hear from folks out there. One gentleman, I think it was Mr. Cox, had mentioned, why not a gas tax? Another gentleman had mentioned, why not a cigarette tax? Well, I looked at those to see what a 5-cent per gallon gas tax would do and what a 25% per pack cigarette tax would do. Those would raise about $9 million. Take those, combine them with a bond issue, and that would take care of the money that we're trying to raise to match the state. And again, when you talk about a gas tax, you're talking about a tax where those who use the roads would be the ones that would pay for it. Seemed like a good idea. I brought it up here, but unfortunately there was no interest here on the city council. Another idea a gentleman had mentioned, got my interest, a public referendum, a good idea. Why don't we let the people vote? It's a good democratic exercise. Asked the city attorney to find out, could we do that? And he had told me that no advisory referendums are allowed in the state of Alabama. Only the city council can impose via ordinance a sales tax increase locally. There's no mechanism for allowing the public to approve or disapprove a sales tax increase. Good old state law. Another idea that had come up that really came from me for a change, for once original idea from me. What about the danger that if we do an agreement, that the state once again is going to back out of the agreement with us? Because we had one very well planned out, 10 years, $450 million. Everything was planned, and then the state backed out. Mr. Jofrion's response was, there's never a guarantee that a party to a contract won't breach it, but we will have remedies available to us if the state does so, including a suit for specific performance or money damages for breach of contract. Structurally, regarding roads involved in the state of Alabama, the state would enter into a contract for construction of a road with a general contractor and would seek periodic reimbursement of the city's share during the construction process. So at the very least, we would not remit funds to the state until a contract is let. So I guess in a nutshell, it's done on a draw system so that there would be at least some protection from the city not being hurt by the state again. Mr. Peters, I think some others had mentioned a sunset on the tax, in the tax after the agreement ends. That seems like a good idea, and I think it would build up public trust and show that we are listening to ideas and concerns from the community. If there is a future road agreement, we go back to square one and debate the process for local funding. So, interesting idea. I think it's something that we need to look into. Also, I've heard from the public about the idea, excuse me, of restricting the tax to road projects only. State roads, city roads, period. We got a backlog of city roads in our capital improvement plan that could move up, and even perhaps the state would match and help us with moving up some of these parkway issues that we were talking about. Good idea. A concern has been raised about the city wasting money by giving parking garages to developer. And where I live, I drive past the proposed Twickenham Square development. Asked Finance Director Randy Taylor about that. What's the dollar and cents issues on that? For that construction, we will receive $1,020,000 in a one-time sales tax for construction materials that come in. Also, that development is projected to bring in $1.6 million annually in property tax, and that's new money. Just telling you some of the things that I found out. Excuse me, I'm fighting off a cold. I wouldn't say I was going to use that as an excuse to be at home tonight, but like that. Also, I asked if we could pass a sales tax increase in exempt groceries. That was something that some folks had mentioned. And again, a large number of low-income elderly are hurting, and to hit them at the grocery store just doesn't seem right. But no, we can't do it because of, you guessed it, state law. So these are just some of the answers to some of the questions that I've found, and it's been quite an interesting process. we all have questions, and these were the answers to the questions that I had. Thank you.
Dr. Showers.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am delighted to announce tonight that we held a town meeting on Tuesday at the Shower Center, well attended. The mayor, administration, all of the key players were there to answer questions from the citizens who attended that. I was delighted today that a gentleman was honored, Mr. Jack D. Lashley, 85 years old, received his degree out at Oakwood University Church. And of course, we certainly shared in that occasion. He graduated from Chicago State University, and that ceremony again was held out at the Oakwood University Church. Let me say to all of you, I wish you a Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Showers. Mr. Olszewski.
First of all, I just want to say that I've watched our mayor now for 7-8 months deal with, because I'm on the MPO board that deals with roads construction and all the above. I've watched him deal with it. I've watched us go do A-TRIP funding where we try to get $80 million for these roads, and I saw us both get beat pretty good over it, but I saw him keep the fight up and got where we are today with the 125. I have read every email. There was a story one time where a guy named Russell said, when you say you've been overwhelmed with email, he said, how many's overwhelmed? And at that particular time, I said it was 8, and he said, well, you weren't overwhelmed because you got 38,000 people in your district, and there's 180,000. Well, I can say I've been overwhelmed with email. It's easily into the 150 world. I've read them all, for and against. It's surprisingly, but most people think that it was all against, but that's not true. And I also share with you that I got it from businessmen for and against in the local, in my area, and also for and against for outside of my area. I've also had the same arguments after the 1% thing seemed to have some movement. Then the sunset came up, and the same pro and con. I want to say that I want to thank the city staff, Shane and the mayor and John Hamilton and Randy Taylor for all the insight and all the questions that I had to ask, very similar to Bill's. And it was a well done staff work, I believe, is as good as it's going to get. So I just wanted to go through that and then also say happy holidays and Merry Christmas, and I looking forward to another great year.
Thank you, John. We're going to go ahead with the presentation. Mayor Battle, if you'll get started. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I may not get the chance at the end of the meeting, but I'll also wish it to you at the end. So Mayor Battle, we're going to hear from Mayor Battle. He's going to do a presentation. 13A, C, and D are related to the 1 cent sales tax increase. Mr. Jofrion, I know that we have a substitute for each one of these. Can you explain to the council and to the public why, and would you just assure us that everything's okay?
I can. The substitute is nothing more than a clerical correction. At the last council meeting, there were so many different drafts of the sales tax ordinances that apparently the final draft was not the one that actually got introduced. But the one that should have been introduced is what is now labeled as substitute A for each of the 3 ordinances. And specifically what was not included in those drafts was the tax that is applicable to vending machines. So it doesn't change anything substantively other than to include what should have been included originally, applicable to vending machines.
Councilmembers, everybody clear on that? You should all have substitute A?
Well, I'm not really clear, Mr. President. I have 3 documents here, or actually 4. Substitute A, Amendment 1. Substitute A, I have Substitute A, Amendment 1 again, and Substitute A.
Yes, sir. You should have 6 documents, 13959, Amendment A, a substitute A, and then you'll have an amendment, which is what I'm going to propose later. then 13968, substitute, and then an amendment, which is I'm going to propose later, and a 13969, substitute A, and then an amendment.
Now, what I want to know, since the original one is not the one that we going to be considering, the substitute A amendment 1, can I get an explanation just on the amendment?
I will, when I make a motion, I'll explain it. It's not on the table. I just had them pre-printed so everybody would know what it is when we get there. We're not there yet.
Okay.
So we'll discuss that if it gets onto the floor.
Yeah.
It's not on the, it's not part of this discussion right now.
Okay, I heard you ask the attorney for explanation, and it wasn't on the floor. I didn't see any reason why I couldn't ask for the amendment 1 to be explained by the attorney.
And it hasn't been proposed yet, and when I propose it, I'll explain it.
But your question that you raised to the attorney earlier was not
Because those items are on the agenda.
the same as this.
The amendment's not on the agenda, but Dr. Showers, if we're going to argue this, I assume go ahead and explain it. My amendments that I will propose later tonight are just a sunset clause, a simple sunset clause amendment.
Okay. What does the clause do?
It sunsets the tax after 5 years. But it's not, I haven't made the motion yet. It hasn't been seconded. It's not on the agenda. It's not on the table yet.
Okay.
Mayor Bowden?
Good. Thank you, Council President and council members and public who is here. Also department heads who are here late on a Thursday night. They had hot dogs earlier tonight. They knew it would be a long night, so they were ready to go. This is our Restore Our Roads campaign that's been working for 7 months now. And this is our time to start looking at this. For many of you, this is the third or fourth time that you've been through this, but I think it's worth it for us to go through it again to talk about where we need to be and what we need to do as a community. Restore Our Roads started back in March of 2013. We had $450 million worth of projects ready to go with the state over the next 5 years. They included some of the major corridors and some of the major traffic corridors in the city of Huntsville. In March of 2013, we were informed that we need to start looking at our roads and doing something different. In our conversations, we found out that the transportation director, who is a good man and who is an accountant, felt like that the state had overpromised what they could actually deliver on their road plans. They had $150 million worth of construction money each year, and they were promising about $400 million worth of road plans, maybe even $500 million a year. And he wanted to make sure that on his ledger sheet that his credits equaled his debits, and he wanted to make sure that what he promised he could deliver. So we came down to road plans being changed. And the only major corridor that was going to be affected in Madison County, or only major project that was in place in Madison County, was County Line Road at I-565, and that was the only road plan that we had for the next 5 years. That meant that Memorial Parkway at Maston Lake overpass was moved from, in the earlier plan, from 2018 when it was going to be started to 2024. And it would probably be a 6-year build period if they followed traditional ALDOT building on overpasses. They would build the access roads the first 3 years, then wait a year, then they would start on the overpasses, and it would be a 6-year process. So it would be 2030 before we'd ever ride on that road. It meant that the overpass at Lily Flag and Bird Springs moved from 2015 to 2019. And if it was a 6-year process, in 2025, we would finally finish that road. We would finally finish our limited access parkway from Weatherly all the way up to Maston Lake Road, and we would finally get to travel on that. During that period, both roads would be under construction. Both roads would not be rehabilitated, as we've been trying to do, because of the pending traffic. Most people will tell you that people will not move. Commercial businesses will not move into areas where there's going to be construction like that. So we would find that those corridors, which had been blighted in the past, would stay blighted for the next 10 years. And so we started thinking about that and saying, what's that going to do to the city of Huntsville? What's that going to do to Madison County? It's something that scared us, quite frankly. So we started our Restore Our Roads campaign. The first part of Restore Our Roads campaign was that we wanted to see if we could, quite frankly, get the state government to step back up to what they had promised, or if we could get the state legislature to move us forward. It did not happen. And as we went through this, we went through every project. And the projects were done so that, one, we could educate our people, two, that we could educate our legislature, three, that we could educate our government, and that we could move forward and try to get something going with these roads. It was very important to us. It's very important to our infrastructure. It's very important to our area. One of the things we looked at is, if we're not a growing area, what happens to us? If you're not a growing area, you're going to be a dying area. That's known. If you're not a growing area, when you try to find jobs for your family later in life, as they come back to this community, they're not going to be able to find them. I was lucky. 3 years ago, my son decided to come back here after being in school and going to Knoxville, going to Birmingham. He decided to come back here, and he was able to come back here because we were a growing community, because we could provide him a job and he could have opportunity here. These roads spell opportunity for us. So we started our campaign, and we started to educate our public. And this is about major arterials. These are about roads that move traffic. And we had, each one of you came out to the press conferences that we had at each of the spots, and each one of you were out there with us and talking about how we needed these roads. Restore Our Roads campaigns went all over the area. And so we tried also to get our money back through ATRIP funding. If you remember, the state of Alabama had a $1 billion program on road building and through ATRIP funding. And we tried to get our major arterials done through ATRIP funding. We're told that that was not what ATRIP was for. ATRIP was for minor collectors. It was for rebuilding bridges, and it was also for adding lanes to existing roads, but not for major arterials. So then we sat down, and once we went through and we couldn't get the state government to respond back the way they were, couldn't get it through ATRIP funding, we went to the governor and we said, we need to do something about our roads. We need a 5-year plan. We need to spend $250 million on roads for 5 years, and we want to do it jointly as a partnership with the state of Alabama. The state of Alabama would put up $125 million, $25 million a year for 5 years. The city of Huntsville would put up $125 million, $125 million and $25 million a year for 5 years. It was the way that we could find to pay for these roads. So we went to the governor. The governor said, well, we'll be willing to look at it. We then went to the highway director. The highway director said he would be willing to look at it. And finally, it culminated on December 2nd when the highway director came up here and announced $250 million worth of roads, $125 million coming from the state of Alabama, $125 million coming from the city of Huntsville. Now, many people are saying this is something extremely out of the ordinary. I will remind you right now, Mobile is doing a 50-50 plan with their ATRIP funding. I will remind you that we did a 100% plan when we did Governor's Drive because we couldn't get the state to move fast enough. Many people say that this might cause a precedence to be set. Every deal that you cut with state government will be cut with the governor at that time and the highway director at that time. The next time that we go back for roads will be with another governor, another highway director. It will be more than 4 years from now, and we will be talking to someone else. The precedent is not set. It will be worked each time. We will try to do the best we can to make sure that we put our matching share in, but the state also puts their share of the money in there. But when we started talking about the road plans, we had 7 road plans that the state agreed to. I'd like Mr. Davis to come up and talk about these road plans and tell us about which ones we have, and I'll go through them very quickly.
Council members, when the mayor and myself met with Governor Bentley and the highway director, we talked about transportation needs within our community. Tonight we're presenting a 5-year plan that takes care of 7 of those projects. Before you is our 2035 transportation plan for our entire metro area. There's 97 projects that are unfunded, that are critical needs to our community. So how did we get to these 7? One was traffic counts. They're the top 7 of those 97. Of the most critical need projects, there's 24 in total. They equal $1.75 billion in value today. So that's how we still have, after the 5-year commitment with the state, we still have $1.5 billion of critical needs that are only 17 projects out of the remaining 97. So we set out to talk with Governor Bentley, Director Cooper, and said these are our top 7 needs, and these are the road projects that we can be guaranteed by where they're at in design or right-of-way acquisition that we're assured that can be built under Governor Bentley's term. So those 7 projects that we have identified, the one that was just up on the screen, I will go through those and tell you what they consist of, their scope of work. The first project is US 72 East at Moores Mill and Epworth Drive. It's a busy, very busy intersection. There's a current project that ALDOT has. That current project includes the extension of I-565 that would include an interchange at Moores Mill and Shields Road. Unfortunately, that project's current budget is $130 million. Well, with the state having only $150 million annually to use statewide, there had to be a compromise. So while we sat down with Governor Bentley and Director Cooper to do something at this location, we've decided to add triple left turns, eastbound to northbound to Moores Mill, and then a westbound lane from Shields Road to I-565, and then a small portion eastbound at Moores Mill to alleviate the intersection. We feel that this will move traffic adequately till proper funding can be put in place for the interchange and the extension of I-565, and give our community relief of congestion in this area for 7 to 10 years. So that was the first project. It's one that can be done quickly because of the amount of right-of-way that's currently available for Highway 72, and one that will give immediate relief to the eastern portion of our city. The next project on the list is South Memorial Overpasses. This is a project that was slated to start, as Mayor Battle mentioned. The project, again, takes up a major portion of the current state's highway budget annually. Right-of-way has already been acquired for this project. The plans are, for the most part, 100% complete. Utilities have been relocated, so it was a natural fit to move it high priority of the 7 projects. This project is currently slated for a 2015 start at a cost of $64.5 million that will be split between the state and the city if you so choose to move forward. The third project on the list is University Drive West from Providence, Maine to County Line Road. This is currently a 4-lane section of US 72 that is highly congested both in the morning and afternoon. At times you can walk beside cars along Highway 72 during morning rush hour and evening rush hour. This project will be taking Highway 72 from Providence, Maine to County Line Road from 4-lane section to a 6-lane section with advanced traffic signal technology to even assess more with the capacity of that project. That current project is slated to be a $30 million project and would start in 2016. The next project that we talked about was to further enhance South Memorial Parkway south of the current overpasses. This will include a mixture of different ideas, adaptive traffic signalization of synchronizing all traffic signals south of the limited access highway, modification of median crosscuts, and some additional laneage, because that is the 4-lane section there. That project is, let me find it on my list just momentarily, is a 2017 start and is currently slated at $15 million. The next project is one that the city of Huntsville took upon ourselves a couple of years ago because the state had no money to even start engineering, and that is our Martin Luther King Northern Bypass Extension. The current plan of State Route 255 is the state knows the road nomenclature ends at Toyota at Pulaski Pike. This project will take immediate relief off the Parkway in I-565. Our current master plan of the 2035 Transportation Improvement Plan takes this road all the way to US 72 east of Chapman Mountain. The current phase is $20 million scheduled for 2017 and will take it 1,500 feet of Memorial Parkway to finish the intersection there. This not only is a traffic project, but I want to note the council members that there are several thousand acres from an industrial job recruitment standpoint that we have submitted on, to compete with projects, And due to the limited access of transportation needs in the area, we've been unsuccessful, and we think that that will change with the completion of this project to bring jobs to that area. The next project is a Southeast Huntsville project in the Hampton Cove area. Cecil Ashburn Drive is currently a 2-lane road that is heavily traveled for folks in Southeast Huntsville of our community to reach Redstone Arsenal via Martin Road. This project would be slated for 2017 at a cost of $15 million. And what we're looking to do on the uphill lanes is add an additional lane in each direction, transition at the top to allow more capacity both to and from in the morning and evening. And like I said, it's scheduled for 2017. Was it?
Maston Lake Overpass.
Maston Lake Overpass, I think we kind of flipped through that, is the north overpass at Maston Lake. If you drive that area, you will notice that currently there's a downhill grade of limited access to a red light with double left turns to Maston Lake and a service road. It is a traffic disaster, just to be point blank. That project is scheduled to start in fiscal year 2017, which would be the fall of 2016. We've been able to do some things to accelerate that project with right-of-way and some of the design that's needed. That current project is a $53 million project. It's one that is needed today. It's probably one of the most critical projects of the 7 projects that we have slated for the 5-year plan. And what that will leave is a 2018 unfunded amount of about $40 million. Governor Bentley and Mayor Battle and myself and Director Cooper decided with these 7 projects to leave the remaining balance to, as we start bidding some of these projects and acquiring what right-of-way is needed, to be able to handle overruns or underruns. After the first 3 years we've got into it, we can better identify what the remaining balance of the $250 million will be, and we'll address one or more of those 17 projects I mentioned that's part of the 24 critical projects. Thank you, council members.
When we looked at this,
Mayor,
yes, sir.
just before you go from, and Mr. Davis goes back. Now, you mentioned Maston Lake.
Yes, sir.
But it's not up there. The dollar amount is not there, and Maston Lake's name is not there. Now, you're saying to me one thing, but here tonight with this presentation, it's altogether different from what you've said to me already. Now, these are the actual dollar amounts for the projects here. Maston Lake is not up on your chart.
Councilman Showers, it is in the room tonight.
Why isn't it up here? You're talking about it.
Sir, I can't speak on behalf of the slide. It may be in there and just has been moved in the slideshow, but it was in there last Thursday night. It's still in the plan, I guarantee you.
But I'm saying the dollar amounts that you've just presented to the public does not include Maston Lake. The amount, another project is up there. Yes, you got the Northern Bypass. It's there. You got Cecil Ashburn. It's there. You got the other projects on the south. But you're not showing the Maston Lake project.
Councilman Showers.
That project needs addressing, and I'm saying the same thing I said last Thursday night. It's not acceptable. Now, I thought this was cleared up. Now, the things y'all told me was that it was going to be included. Tonight, it's not even on the chart.
Councilman Showers, like I said, I will not speak upon the slideshow that's being presented to you, but the project I have here.
Mayor, you did mention it. You just mentioned it. My engineer didn't even mention it because it's not up there. And let me say this. The same thing I said last Thursday night. We talked about 18 minutes, 17 minutes. Anybody today that's on the parkway going north, from just north of Sparkman Drive to past Winchester Road, you have the same problem that you got on 72 East University Drive from Providence on out. The people that I represent, and I represent all of Huntsville, not just District 1, Maston Lake happens to be in District 1. And if I'm going to ask my people to support this, then they've got to see that we're going to benefit from it. Not wait until 2020. We can't wait that long. We shouldn't be asked to wait that long. And based on what has been told to me this week, we're saying something different tonight. Mr. Davis?
No, sir. Councilman Showers, please disregard the PowerPoint presentation. The sheet that I have before me is a sheet that Governor Bentley, myself, Director Cooper, and Mayor Battle distributed publicly. That was distributed publicly when Director Cooper came to the chamber to offer the challenge to us. It is number 4 on the list of the top 7. It will bid late 2016 and be completed in 2018. And as I said before, it's a $53 million project that is fully funded in the plan, guaranteed.
Your total amount
Tuesday night, when this was presented to the people who attended the town meeting, they received that.
Yes, sir.
The fact that we was going to start it in 2016 and that we was going to have the money to do it. Tonight in this projection, in this slide that's on the wall there now, and the last slide that you showed, nowhere in those did we have Maston Lake to be done.
Simply got out of the slideshow, Dr. Showers. It is in the
But
plan.
I'll tell you what, that's not good.
But Dr. Showers, there's $208 million worth of projects, and $53 million of it is Maston Lake Overpass. It is in there.
Okay, I can appreciate you saying that, Mayor, and I certainly to Mr. Davis, but don't do me like that. If it's going to be in there, show it to the people that's watching.
Right here.
Just as you showed this up here, it's not even included.
I'll hold it.
I hear you saying, listen, I've seen that. But the people that are here tonight haven't seen. All they see is what we presented tonight. And Maston Lake is not there. See, this is the thing that creates the problem for this constituent, for this community. Not only does it appear that the state reneges and don't keep their problem, got amnesia, by it not being up here tonight, that gives further thought to people. Who are we going to believe?
My apologies for that not being in there. It is on the plan.
I accepted that early in the week. I accepted that today.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Davis and I had lunch today, and I accepted that then. But here tonight, it's not there. And I hear you saying, Mayor, and I hear Mr. Davis saying, it was just an oversight that it didn't get included. But that's the problem that I have. That's why I'm not comfortable.
Councilman Showers, if I can give you some type of reassurance, the engineering consultant that is currently designing Maston Lake Overpass is here tonight. He's out in the hallway, and I got an update before I come in here. And they've just signed an updated contract with AlDOT to accelerate the design of Maston Lake in hopes that you will pass this tonight. I assure you it is in the plan.
It would have been nice to have had it up here. With
And I agree,
everything
sir.
else.
I agree with that.
I agree.
The map be shown on TV?
Mayor Battle.
Now,
Mayor, I'm sorry, my last time interrupting you. Do we have the capacity to put the rendition of the map that you hold in your hand that's got Maston Lake? Can we project that to the screen on the wall?
no, sir.
Hold it up in front of the TV camera, maybe?
I can put it up just like this for everybody to see. This is Maston Lake. This is the overpass that's in there. This is the slide that is not in the slideshow. Thank you.
Councilman Showers, also on the city's website at the very top right-hand corner, there's a Restored Your Roads button that has an additional slideshow that shows the projects in detail. I assure you, I looked this afternoon, it is on there.
Go ahead, man.
Okay. After going through and looking at the idea of what we do as a community without roads. What do we do if we have to wait till 2019 to start building an overpass at South Parkway? What do we do if we wait till 2024 to start building an overpass on North Parkway at Maston Lake? What do we do with a northern bypass that's not on anybody's plan? We started looking at how we could bring this together. We came to an agreement with the state, and the state has 7 projects in it, which I assure you includes Maston Lake Overpass. It includes Lily Flags and Bird Springs Overpass. It includes South Parkway, working from Weatherly down to Hobbs Road. It includes University Drive going from Providence out to the County Line Road. It includes a northern bypass, which has never been on anybody's plan before and has never been funded before. And it includes the end of I-565 down through Shields and Moores Mill. $208 million worth of projects. And we have an agreement with the state to be able to do those. Immediately upon getting the agreement with the state, we started meeting with groups, with residency groups and other groups, with neighborhood groups, with civic groups, with business groups. We met with the Chamber of Commerce, and we went through our plan, and the Chamber of Commerce endorsed our plan. We met with Huntsville South. Huntsville South looked at our plan. They endorsed the plan. They thought it was a good plan because they felt like it was very important that we do have overpasses on South Parkway. They felt like it was very important to finish South Parkway. They also felt like it was very important to do Cecil Ashburn Drive. We met with groups from across this city and had group after group after group endorse the plan. And finally, we came up with how do we pay for it? How do we pay for it is the biggest question. It would be much easier if we had somebody else to pay for it, if we could go to the state and get them to pay for it, if we could go to the federal government, get them to pay for it, but it wasn't there. The money was not there, the ability was not there. So we came up with the 1-cent sales tax. And we looked at all the tools that we had in our toolbox and came up with the 1-cent sales tax, and that was the best way to do it. Now, if you remember, if you look at other cities around us, Madison is already at 9%. They went to 9%. 6 months ago, they raised their sales tax. They don't have an end to that sales tax. It's there. Arab is at 9%. Athens is at 9%. Decatur's at 9%. This puts us on par with other communities. This does not put us at a disadvantage in retail sales. One of the reasons we went to the sales tax is that 75% of it comes from the city of Huntsville, 25% of it comes from sales from people outside the city of Huntsville. These are regional roads, and we felt like that the whole region should help pay for this. We've had some questions, and many questions as we've gone through this, and many of y'all have had the same questions as they come in on emails or come in letters, and people have asked a whole lot of questions. They said, has the city of Huntsville explored other revenue options? Yes, we have. Through the whole summer, we were trying to get additional state funding. State funding is not there. Through this, we also tried to do A-TRIP funding. A-TRIP funding was not there. What came about is a cost-sharing arrangement that requires a minimum of $25 million per year to be spent on road construction, a minimum of $25 million a year. The revenue stream needs to be immediately available for road work to begin right away, and it's important to us. We looked at the fuel tax. The fuel tax would make us increase 25 cents per gallon. And what we would have is people going across the city line, purchasing gas somewhere else at 25 cents a gallon less, and coming back in and driving on our roads. This would infringe upon our present people who work in the fuel business. Business licenses. Business licenses generate approximately $16 million a year. Fees would need to triple to reach $25 million annually. And this would impact only Huntsville businesses, not a regional area. Property tax. Property tax requires legislative approval, statewide referendum. By the time we got finished with all that, I imagine State Director of ALDOT, John Cooper, would have spent his money somewhere else. It could take up to a year. Bond issue. If we bonded out the $125 million, we would pay $10 million a year for 20 years. We would pay $200 million to get $125 million. We felt like it was better to do a pay-as-you-go plan, not add debt for future generations, and get more road for your dollar. In 20 years, we would have $250 million rather than $125 million. we would be able to double the money that we were able to put into roads. Toll road. We're going to have to look at a toll road at some point when we start looking at the southern bypass. But the 7 roads on ALDOT's proposals are not controlled access and would not be eligible for a toll road. Liquor tax. If we did a liquor tax, if you bought a $10 item at a liquor store, you would have to pay $12 in tax to make up the $25 million. It will be a $22 sale. Did not work out. Tobacco tax. The city's 10 cents per package earns $1.2 million a year. We would have to increase our tax by $2.20 per package. Again, people would just go outside the city, buy their tobacco, and then come back in. 1 cent sales tax. There's not another single revenue source available in the short term that can generate the minimum $25 million that is going to be required for road cost arrangement. The 1 cent sales tax would go in effect March 1st, and I'd like to ask Mr. Taylor to come up and talk about how the legislation is put together, the ordinance is put together on the sales tax.
Council members and members of the public, you do have several ordinances in front of you. One to adopt the tax increase for sales tax, and then for its complementary tax, the use tax. But you also have another very important ordinance which determines how the money has to be spent, which is what the mayor's been speaking about. The first priority in this for these tax proceeds, which we would begin to collect in April if the council adopts it, which is 1 month behind its implementation date because that's when businesses pay their taxes to us. The first portion of that, we would set aside a reasonable reserve for risk. We do that with all of the city's funds. It could be a very small number. It could be a larger number. The council will eventually approve what that number is, but that's our first priority, is to protect from variances and things that we can't predict. I suspect it would not be a lot of money in this case because it's a pay-as-you-go plan, as the mayor described. If we have any debt service associated with it, which we don't expect any associated with this plan because it's going to be pay-as-you-go, that would be our second commitment. But most importantly, the third requirement is that it be used to support the 5-year initiative that the mayor's described with the state, the $125 million. So the first $25 million of every year, and that's on a 12-month basis, beginning April the 1st, that money would be set aside to meet our responsibilities under this agreement with the state. And the road projects that the mayor and Mr. Davis have described would be completed using those funds. The second prioritization of the project money after that would be to spend from thereafter $25 million at least per year on road projects. It could be our own road projects. It can be in conjunction with some other state agreement as we look down the road. But that's after the 5-year agreement is completed. The next component would restrict any money that we collect above $25 million to the other capital improvements of the city or economic development initiatives. That wording is just like the wording that we have in the current capital improvement plan of the city, which was established 24 years ago, and the council has been operating within the context of for city capital improvements for that period of time. Now, sales tax was increased by 1/2 cent at that time. There was some school funding associated with it, and our capital improvement plan, as we know it today, was born 24 years ago. And that plan requires that money be restricted for capital improvements of the city. The mayor proposes those improvements to the council every year during the budget presentations, and the council has to adopt all of those projects. So there's nothing specific in the ordinance that says it will be spent on precise projects because the council will have to approve that by law at some later date. It simply establishes the general restrictions on capital improvements within the plan, and that's how we've been operating for a very long time with our current 10-year plan. This will actually be money that goes into the 2014 capital improvements plan that will be operated distinct from the capital improvements plan that we currently manage. And then lastly, there's other technical stuff about how we have to account for the money with respect to some of our financial reporting obligations. But that's how the money will be spent, and it's very much like how we currently manage our 10-year capital improvement plan.
One of the questions that comes up is, why can't the city take money from its current budget? Each of you have been through budget time. You've seen budget time this past year. We're very lean. We're very lean in our budgets. There's not an extra $25 million in there. Throughout this recession, we've reduced the size of government. We've cut budgets 10%. We've cut outside agency funding 10%, eliminated non-essential budget items, had a limited hiring freeze, employee buyouts, and cut $80 million from the capital plan. There's not an additional $25 million that can be taken out of this. Somebody mentioned tonight the $2.8 million that we're going to spend on the Sealy project down at Holmes and Jefferson. That $2.8 million is going to be returned just off the sales tax off the construction of that, $1.6 million. It will cost us $1.2 million over 20 years. We collect $32 million worth of sales tax, property tax off of that project. It's for $1.2 million, we get $32 million in return over 20 years. It's not a bad return on your money. Will the 1 cent sales tax expire after the 5-year agreement is completed? Under the present ordinance, it does not. By ordinance, it is designated for roads, capital, and economic development projects. The $250 million road package is half of the road plans delayed 10 to 20 years in the state's budget. If you look over here, there's another 18 road projects that are sitting there, totaling $1.5 billion. The biggest one of them is the $700 million Southern Bypass. And why do we have to look at a Southern Bypass? Because the Parkway comes to gridlock in 2029 to 2039. Excuse me, not gridlock, but overcapacity by that time, and eventually runs to gridlock. If we don't have another north-south corridor, then we have a problem in South Huntsville. So what's the other projects that we have to look at? Research Park Boulevard from Gate 9 all the way to north of 72 is a $135 million project that has to be looked at by the city of Huntsville at some point. And this is talking about looking at it in 2017 or 2018 when it's 5 years from now. It's already is a problem area. In 5 years, it will be even more of a problem area. A sales tax is regressive. Why choose this tax? I think Mr. Taylor might address it saying we don't have a choice on something that's not regressive. The only non-regressive tax is an income tax, and we don't have a choice on it. And we don't do an occupational tax because in 2010 the state legislature blocked us from doing something like that. But a significant portion of the 1% increase will be paid by people living outside the city of Huntsville. Can the city of Huntsville exempt groceries and medicine from sales tax? State law does not allow municipalities to exempt food or medicine from taxes. Will this tax increase mean the city will pave more neighborhood roads? We have a long-term road improvement plan and maintenance plan, but we always have more needs than we have resources allowed. This will help. Will the tax increase mean will this tax, let's see here, where are we next? These roads belong to the state. Why doesn't Huntsville wait for ALDOT to pay for the work? I think you can see that we have one road project in the plan right now without this. One road project is County Line Road, which is 3 corners in Huntsville, 1 corner is in Madison, but it benefits Madison. That one project is the only one we have for the next 5 years. There's no northern bypass. There's no overpass at Bird Springs, Lily Flag. There's no overpass at Maston Lake. There's no finish of I-565. There's nothing to help University Drive from out to the County Line Road. None of that's in the plan unless we approve this tonight. Huntsville citizens need these roads. We fought a good fight with the Restore Our Roads. We tried to get the state to live up to where they were. It did not happen. We tried to get it in A-TRIP funding. That didn't happen. This joint agreement is the best possible solution for our roads. What happens if the city council does not approve the sales tax? There's no plan B. We will sit and wait for 5 years, and then finally we will start getting a road. In 2017, I think, is the first road plan that we have coming up. It started in 2017. The overpass at Lily Flags and Bird Springs will be started. They'll do the access roads. It'll take 2 years to do it. 2019. Might take a couple more years before they have enough money to get into the overpasses, and this depends on if the next governor decides that this is a priority, because the next governor and the next highway director will be deciding this. The plan that we have today is a plan that's solid. Alabama Department of Transportation has said that they will make a contract with us, and in that contract they will have obligations to perform. We will have obligations to perform. We will have to provide the $25 million. This is a 5-year road plan. This takes us 1 generation of plans. But let me tell you, this isn't all. We also have another 16 plans that are sitting out there, 16 projects that have to be done. Somebody mentioned tonight that this is just government growing. This plan does not add 1 city employee to government. This plan does not grow 1 department in the city of Huntsville. All this plan does, it gives us a revenue stream for a long term to provide for roads for the city of Huntsville. Those roads provide quality of life, they provide economic development, they provide for our city. They make Huntsville a living, thriving city, not a dying city. I'd ask for y'all to look at this tonight, and I'd ask for you to pass it. I'd like to ask that you pass it without a sunset, because the sunset sets us up to not be able to plan for our roads. If we do it for 5 years, it's a quick-term fix, but it doesn't give us a long-term solution. And the long-term solution is what we're looking for. We have to start planning now for that southern bypass. We have to start planning now for that Research Park Boulevard. We have to start planning now for the future roads that are going to be needed, the eastern bypass, finishing that northern bypass, coming over to Winchester, coming over to 72. We need a long-term revenue stream to be able to provide for roads for the next 10, 15, 20 years. The ordinance says that every year we have to spend a minimum of $25 million a year on roads. Not the first 5 years, not the first 10 years, not the first 20 years. Every year we collect this tax, we have to spend a minimum of $25 million on roads. We need to do that for the next 10, 15, 20 years to keep our community growing and keep our community where it is today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Battle. Council members, we're at 13, unfinished business item for action. As we talked about, 13A, C, and D are about the tax that we've been discussing. 13B is a personnel policy issue, and I'm going to ask that we just move 13B to the back of those groups so that we don't get confused on what we're voting on. So I'm going to take 13A first, then go to 13C and 13D. And keep in mind they're all dealing with the same issue, so the vote should be the same on each one. 13A is ordinance number 13-959, amending Code of Ordinances, Article 3, Section 15-109 of Chapter 15 Sales Tax regarding the disposition of sales and use taxes. The chair moves for approval.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Mr. Kling.
Is this the sunset version?
No, sir. If I make the motion, it will be an amendment, as you well know. Is there a second to this, to my motion? Mr. Olszewski has seconded. Council members, this is basically just what the mayor has asked for, is providing the new tax. I intend to amend this, ask for your vote later for to amend it to sunset after 5 years. I can make that amendment now. We can vote it up or down, and then discuss either the main motion as amended or the main motion, or we can discuss it some now. Then I can make the amendment. It's up to y'all. If there's no discussion, I'll go ahead and make the amendment. I move amend ordinance number 13-959 by Amendment 1. It's a very simple amendment. It just says this sales tax goes away after 5 years. It's called a sunset clause. Mr. Kling has seconded. Council members and the public, I'll give you my reasons for doing this. The original premise of this need was to fix a lack of state promised funding for our roads. 5 years of collecting this tax solves that immediate problem. With the state matching the funds, we'll build those roads that we went out and restored our road campaign for. And I agree the 5 years won't cover all our capital needs or our future capital needs. As the mayor has well said, there's many more needs to come. Many citizens I've heard from agree the roads are needed, but they're concerned about the additional tax monies in the plan. I think they're not all citizens, but most citizens are fine with the road projects, the $125 million. But the rub seems to be, what are we going to do with the extra money? They fear we're going to spend the money on other needs and wants. That's what they're scared of in those 5 years. The 5-year sunset will give us the opportunity to prove that spending will continue per the appropriate approved plan, and we'll be able to show them and prove that we've done this correctly. The 5-year sunset will allow a different set of elected leaders to weigh in on this issue. Some of us are going to change over the coming years, and there may be different opinions or different circumstances in 5 years. So we may want to, in 5 years, regroup and take another look at this. The 5-year sunset will give time for our legislative delegation to work to convince others in state government that the investment in Huntsville will bring a good return. If they invest in Huntsville's infrastructure, we will provide jobs and good citizens that will in turn help the state. I would like to make that case to them, and I'm certainly going to try to make the case to them over the next 5 years. The 5-year sunset could hamper some long-term planning, as the mayor mentioned. I don't disagree. But I think we can do a plan, continuing the tax, or a plan without continuing the tax. We may not be able to fund some of the engineering and stuff, and we will get behind. I'm granted there. That's a weakness in my argument, but I think we can make it. It'll be an interesting comparison to see for the citizens what would happen if we don't keep up going with the tax in year 6. In the end, I think sunset clause is something we owe our citizens. If I'm around at that time, I sure will probably regret that I did this, that I proposed this, because I probably am not going to want to vote on a tax issue again in 5 years. But we all know that what we do every meeting is we vote on serious and difficult issues. I'm not scared of one more issue. I mean, there's 4 or 5 very serious issues we're voting on tonight. So I'm not scared about adding one more in the agenda in the next 5 years. So those are my comments. I know Mayor Battle is against me. I applaud Mayor Battle for his leadership. I compliment his willingness to meet with our citizens. For the public, it was amazing. Monday night, we had a small meeting at Mr. Kling's request at the library. I walked in, the mayor was there with maybe 2 or 3 citizens with no security, no staff, and he basically was interrogated for an hour. And it just shows what a great town we have, that the mayor would be willing to take time out of his busy schedule to go to a meeting, answer questions like he did. And, he did the same thing Tuesday night. He's been everywhere answering questions. He's not afraid to answer the questions. And I do applaud his leadership, and I agree with him on most all issues. We've had a few disagreements over budget, and I just disagree on this issue. But I highly respect his willingness to lead us on this issue. Mayor Battle, do you want to argue against me?
Mr. President?
Mr. Klain.
If I could take it a little further, I think the mayor, I don't know if he's wearing boots, but this whole thing came across because he's trying, we like it, we may not like it, but he's coming across up front, trying to clean up a mess that is the responsibility of the state government. I know we can say, well, they don't have any money, but there are ways that they always seem to find money. And for us to go from like 450 million to, I think it's like 25, and not let us use the A-TRIP funds and everything like that. Mayor Battle, I think, has been upfront, and he's been fighting for us. And I think we're fortunate that we have a good fighter on this.
Council members, anybody else have discussion?
Mr. President, I have real needs. Some of you all may not have the needs that I have. I got problems today. Not 3 years from now, not 2 years from now, not 5 years from now, but right now. In the afternoon when I go down the parkway to go home, it takes me forever. But I do not want to take the chance tonight to cut off the hand that's going to supply us. I'm looking at the future opportunities. I don't have it now, but I'm looking at the opportunity to have the monies available to do what we don't have coming from the state, from the governor's office. So I don't want to see us cut off the opportunity to generate future monies, future dollars, to do projects that we won't ever get support from the state of Alabama from, unless we maintain a steady flow of resources and incomes to do these road projects. So what am I saying? I don't want to see us cut off. Mr. Klain and Mr. President, the opportunity for generating monies that we can do other things in the road project arena, that we won't have the money if we just cut it off. We're right back where we are tonight. I applaud you for submitting your amendment, Mr. Klain, you and Mr. Mark, but I can't support that. I want to tell you what happened Tuesday night. We had a bunch of people at our meeting that discussed, just everybody there was, the mayor answered every question. Mr. Davis was there, answered all the questions. And here's what I did. I told the constituents that I would take a survey, a vote, of those that were present. And I've said all along that I was going to support the wishes of my constituents. And I'm going to keep my promise. Because they said to me Tuesday night that in the best interest of this city, they wanted to support the mayor's proposal. I don't want to lead anybody to think any different. Thank you.
Council members, any other discussion on my amendment?
Mr. President?
Mr. Kling?
Question, which you had talked about, I didn't quite understand. What happens to the money that's above the 25 million? You're not messing, you're not doing anything?
No, my only amendment only cuts off the tax after 5 years. That's the only thing my amendment does.
Okay. I would like to throw out the idea of taking that out and just saying that all the money would go for roads, state roads, city roads, planning, parkway.
And if you want to make that amendment after we work on this one, that would be appropriate. But right now, we have an amendment on the floor to basically the sunset clause, and we need to discuss that.
I know we're discussing the clause, the amendment that you're proposing.
Yes, sir.
But based on what I heard reported earlier, the language is already there. That any excessive money over and beyond what is required, that those dollars will be used for roads, economic development, and related opportunities with roads. Capital projects. Is that not already there, Peter?
To be clear, my amendment is just on sunsetting after 5 years. Is there further discussion on amendment 1? Okay, call for a vote. I'll just ask for all those in favor of my amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, it fails. Culver, Olszewski, and Showers voting no. Kling and Russell voting affirmative. My amendment fails. Now we're back to the main motion, which is just the tax.
Mr. President,
Discussion.
I
Mr.
think
Kling.
it's item F in there, but I would just like to put the wording that all the money be used for roads, state roads, city roads, anything related to roads, you know, engineering, all of that.
Okay, Mr. Kling is proposing, we'll call it Amendment 2, which is to basically change it where the money can only be used for roads, not capital improvements or anything to roads. Is there a second to that amendment?
For the purpose of any further discussion.
Okay, that's fine. So now that amendment is on the floor. Mr. Kling?
Just for clarification, it's meant to be state roads and city roads.
So, roads.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Davis addresses.
Mr. Davis, did you want to weigh in on this?
If I may, council members, I know there's been some confusion about what would happen to the additional $5 to $7 million we anticipate for the tax to generate. Council members, if I can take you back 2 years ago when we brought you the budget in August, as Mayor Battle, his first 3 years, we cut the operating account. First year, 10% mandatory by all department heads. The next year, very similar. The fourth year, to keep our AAA credit rating and have a balanced budget to present to you and our citizens, we cut the capital plan $80 million. It's gone forever. We'll never get that back. That's where the additional above the $25 million for roads is to do that. You've heard people speak for and against our downtown. I've been part of this city in some capacity since 1996, either as a private consultant or working for this city that I dearly love. Quality of life to all of us in this room is probably something different. To a lot of folks, it's a vibrant downtown. To some, like me with a young daughter, park and rec facilities is very important to me. Transportation is very important. So our capital plan is very diverse. It's got drainage, it's street resurfacing, it's increasing our recreational facilities, our parks. I will remind you, one of the parks that's near and dear to everybody probably in this room is Big Spring Park. It's very tired. Joy McKee and her group do a phenomenal job trying to maintain it, but the seawalls are falling in. That's a capital need. It's a pride of property, it's a pride of our city, and I urge you to allow the balance of that to bring to you that I produce a capital plan for you every August with Randy Taylor and Finance Department is to bring you that top list items throughout your districts for you to vote on, to take that and do other things. Alternate modes of transportation, our greenways, our bikeways, our sidewalks. Those are needs that we have on top of our transportation needs. So that's what the additional capital needs that we mention, both publicly and on the news and in our town hall meetings, above and beyond. So I just wanted to point that out.
Could we get Mr. Taylor to address the needs for capital reserve also?
With respect to this specific ordinance, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
But the capital reserves we need are particularly important when we borrow money. You're well acquainted with the reserve that we have in our general fund. That's the largest and most familiar. 11.5% of our annual budget, about $27 million today, is in that reserve to protect the city from unexpected financial downturns, like we experienced 5 years ago when we went through $25 million in about 3 years. So that's why we have the reserves, is to protect us from what we cannot see coming. So we will need a reserve even in this new capital fund. Even though it will be pay-as-you-go, we'll have a small reserve of money set aside to help insulate us from the things that we don't see coming, so that we can continue to have a sustainable plan. So I think, as I said before, it'll be a relatively small component of that. It depends on any degree of debt or any kind of uncertainty that will become more known to us as we move through the plan. But that's why we would have it, and that's why it's actually in your ordinance.
I too would not want to take the capital language out. I've got a new school that's going in on the north end. There may come an occasion that superintendent may need some capital assistance. I want to be able to do that, Mayor, just like we're doing at the other school. And we'll do that. But if we take that language out, we won't be able to do that. So I'm going to say, Mr. Kling, I want to keep the capital language where it is.
Mr. Culver?
And thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Taylor, you may have answered my question, but where I'm headed is, and this is not per se, it kind of does include the motion that's been made by Councilman Kling. Although this year has been a great year, we're 1% above what was projected, 4% versus 3%, which was projected. My concern is what happens if, for whatever the reason, we don't get a minimum of 25 million, although I know we're going to get over 25 million with this 1% increase in our sales tax. But taking the worst scenario, what happens if we fail to get even 25 million in the course of a calendar year or fiscal year?
That's a multi-part answer, Mr. Culver. One, it would depend on, one, if we couldn't afford it, that's a catastrophic effect in the sales tax, because we're expecting in the $34 million range comfortably. So that would be a significant underrun to that. We experienced, just by way of reference, a 4.2% decline in sales tax in 2009. So, and that's the largest decline in 1 year that we've seen in a very long time. And that was severe to us. So to have something of the magnitude of a $7 million shortfall would be very severe. So there would be many other issues we'd be discussing if this capital plan suffered that kind of underrun. So the multi-part question would be, what caused that, us to be that short? There would be something very significant in the economy. Was it going to be long-lasting? But we would have to respond to that kind of cut at that time. We wouldn't automatically fill the gap. If we knew that we're going to collect $24 million a year, we wouldn't turn that into long-term debt, just because, again, something so significant would be happening that we would fully have to understand it before we could move forward. Again, that's a significant cut. I can't imagine that we would experience that, but if we did, that would be part of a holistic discussion we'd have about numerous city issues at that time. Sales tax is 57% of our budget as it stands right now. So we would have to look at lots of things. But so I don't have a good answer for you, because the circumstances under which we would see that kind of shortfall are difficult to foresee, and how we would navigate through that.
When we had that shortfall in 2009, didn't we lose somewhere in the neighborhood of 16, 17, 18 million?
No, sir, a 4%, in today's dollars, a 4% decline in sales tax would be roughly $5 million. And that's what we experienced in sales tax. We had some losses in some other areas as well. And we responded to that, one, because we had reserves, and so we were able to continue providing the basic services and all of the stuff we discussed through that difficult time. We had to make adjustments in our budget. The mayor's outlined those again, the cuts that we had to make. Mr. Davis reminded you about the cuts we had to make in our capital improvement plan of about $80 million. So all of that was in response to the decline and what its long-term effects were to the city. So that's what it translated into in today's dollars, $5 million plus the other losses that we experienced. And we restructured and we navigated through that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, we have an amendment made by Mr. Kling and seconded by Mr. Culver to change the tax funds can only be used on roads. Is there further discussion on that amendment? We'll call for a vote. All those in favor of Mr. Kling's amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. The chair votes no. Record indicate Mr. Kling's motion fails 4-1 with Mr. Kling in affirmative, the rest of the council against. So we're back to the main motion. Discussion on the main motion.
I just want to ask, on the sunset time frame, I heard 25 million for the first 25 million for roads. When you get out into that world, that's a debatable. I mean, the roads are not debate. I mean, you're not going to do roads, but it's debatable amongst the, you're going to come with your normal plan. You have a plan out in the future, and the discussion is still up in the air up here on which road goes first and all that. And then after that 25 million, whatever delta, if it's the 32 to 34, that delta is discussion again based on the mayor coming in with the budget for the councilmen to sit there and go to debate and discuss the economic development / the capital, correct?
Councilman Olszewski, you said it perfect. I mean, in August, the balance or beyond the $25 million, we will line item in a capital plan, bring it before the council for a vote. And that would be your first vote for that use of that money. The second vote would be any expenditure that we bring before the council to embark on that project. It is to be brought before you or a future council member to vote yea or nay to continue that project. So, I mean, there'll be multiple decisions to be made in the future by council members how to spend that money.
Mr. Culver.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a kind of a explanation as it relates to this 1% sales tax increase. While to me it is a no-brainer, it is still a very, very difficult decision because I'm listening to all of the folk who've been emailing me. I've emailed as many people as I can back. I've talked with constituents and other folk who are not per se in District 5. This is not a district matter. It's a city of Huntsville in North Alabama matter. But I think about the families who are struggling. I think about not just, people whom we regard as being indigent, but middle class. I mean, this economy is very sluggish and it's difficult. It's going to rebound, but it hasn't rebound. And while I say all of that, I say to you that I've heard everything that you've said. I've even taken your suggestions that you've made to me to Mayor Battle, and we've sat down and discussed those. And some of those appeared on this board here. I was thinking, as I've said before, that a property tax increase would fix all of our problems, but we know that is not the case. We really don't have a choice. I mean, a lot of careful planning and thought has gone into this. Mayor Battle and his staff has done exceedingly well with it. And this is what it takes to grow our economy. I've been saying this over and over again since I've been on the council, that sales tax is certainly not the kind of tax that we should be relying on because it's so unpredictable, as indicated by what happened in 2008 and the results in 2009, and even the catastrophic events that occurred in 2011. But since it is the largest revenue generator, then we should be doing all that we can in order to grow our budget, not city government, but our budget, by bringing in more economic development, like the 400 jobs at Boeing, like some of the other companies that are coming into Huntsville. So we're going to continue to do that. And I think, no, I don't think, I honestly believe and feel in my heart that while this is painful right now, once we get past it, we're going to really see the benefits of this 1% increase. So I just solicit you to work with us and please indulge us on it as we move forward. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. Culver. Further discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Kling.
now we are voting on the original
The main motion, unamended.
like that. It's not what I would have wanted, but the state of Alabama really has just royally shafted us, and I think all of us, are driving around the city, the Parkway, Cecil Ashburn, University Drive West, and I respect the opinions that I've heard from many people in this audience at this and at previous meetings, both for and against. I've looked into some ideas that were presented and tried to see what could or could not be done as an alternative. But I think that we do have a city that we want to keep moving forward. We don't want to be like Montgomery or Mobile. The problems of Birmingham, I think, are pretty well documented. And for that reason, it's not what I was hoping to get, but given the realities of the situation, and I understand that there are at least 3 other votes up here to support the sales tax, but I will join my fellow council members and I will support the motion.
Further discussion? Voting on the main motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0.
Mr. President, can I say this? I want to thank the council for their support, and I want to thank the community for their support. But one thing we will promise you, on a quarterly basis, we will look at this. We will have full, open transparency and disclosure where this money goes. We want to make sure that everybody understands that this is going for where we said it would go. And it starts March 1st, so the next night, after the first 90 days, we'll have a report on it to let you know where we are, and you will also be voting on our contract with State Department of Transportation, which we will start pulling together tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. As I mentioned, we're going to skip 13B, take it up later. 13C is ordinance number 13-968, substitute A, amending Code of Ordinances, Article 3, Section 15-108 of Chapter 15, sales, use, rental, and lodging taxes regarding sales tax. The chair moves for approval. Second. Second by Dr. Showers. Council members, this is the same discussion as 13A. Do you have a discussion on this?
You talk about concerning the sunset?
No, I'm not making any amendment on this because obviously the amendment failed before, so we have to be consistent.
Okay.
Is there further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? It carries. 13D is ordinance number 13-969, amending Code of Ordinances, Article 3, Section 15-116 of Chapter 15, sales, use, rental, and lodging tax regarding use tax. This is also substitute A. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Dr. Showers. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? It carries. 13B is ordinance number 13-967, amending Section 5.7, appointment status of ordinance number 04315, Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Dr. Showers, second by the chair. Is Mr. Thomas here? Mr. Thomas, could you explain this, please?
Yes, sir. This is an amendment to add the necessary language in our Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual to address the Federal Affordable Care Act. If we have employees that, part-time employees that do work the minimum 30 hours or more, then they'll be eligible for the benefits under the Act. So we have to add that to our Personnel Policy and Procedures.
Thank you, sir. Discussions, questions from Mr. Thomas? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. We have no new business items for introductions. We do have new business item for consideration or action. Please notify the chair of any items you'd like to hold.
Mr. President,
Mr. Culver.
I'm going to excuse myself.
Okay, let the record indicate Mr. Culver's leaving.
Mr. President, I'd like to hold item P, 15P.
Dr. Showers held 15P as in Paul. Chair will hold 15O. Are there any others? Okay, take your time. K or L, maybe? Okay. Mr. Olszewski has held K. So right now I have K, O, and P held. Are there any others? Hearing none. 15A is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter agreement with the U.S. Marshal Service to accept overtime funding for officers assigned to the Regional Fugitive Task Force. B is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute change order number 1 to the agreement between the City of Huntsville and McDonald Brothers Construction for Cove Park Soccer Fields located at 864 Old Highway 431. C is a resolution authorizing appointment of part-time municipal court judges. D is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter agreements with the low bidder meeting specification outlining the attached summary of bids for acceptance. E is ordinance to amend budget ordinance number 13-630 by changing the authorized personnel strength in various departments and funds. F is ordinance to amend budget ordinance number 13-630 by changing appropriated funding for various departments and funds. G is a resolution authorizing acceptance of donations. H is a resolution authorizing the mayor to commit home funds to the Flint River LP for Flint River Apartment Home upon approval of their grant application to the Alabama Housing Finance Authority. I is a resolution authorizing the mayor to a memorandum of understanding with North Alabama Revolving Loan Fund to provide financing for microloans utilizing program income for community development loan repayments. J is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter modification number 2 to the agreement between the City of Huntsville and Crisis Services of North Alabama, Inc. for services to the homeless. L is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter agreement for consulting services between the City of Huntsville and Joe Summers. M is a resolution authorizing the city attorney to settle the claim of Diane Davis. N is a resolution dedicating certain parcels of real properties rights-of-way for Mark C. Smith Drive and Cummings Research Park. Q is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute modification number 20, the Supplement Development Agreement TIF 5 Series 2010B to the Annexation and Development Agreement between the City of Huntsville and LW Redstone Company, LLC. R is a resolution authorizing the clerk treasurer to invoke CB&S Bank letter credit number 555582 for Ansley Farm subdivision. S is a resolution authorizing the mayor to amend the contract with Christopher Professional Enterprises, Inc. for Redstone Gateway Extension, Market Street, and Overlook Road Relocation Package 1F2 Water Systems, project number 6511 SP22 by change order number 2. T is a resolution authorizing the mayor to amend the contract with Christopher Professional Enterprises, Inc. for Redstone Gateway Extension, Market Street, and Overlook Road Relocation Package 1F3, Primary Communication, Primary Electrical, project number 6511 SP22 by change order number 2. U is a resolution authorizing the mayor to modify the agreement with Little John Engineering Association, Inc., doing business as G.W. Jones and Son Consulting Engineers for Holmes Avenue and Pinhook Creek Bridge improvements, project number 6504 BR7 by modification number 3. V is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter agreement with Garver LLC for engineering construction administration services for U.S. Highway 431 improvements, project number 6511 TI-01 and STPHV-STPAA-001. W is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter agreement with Garver LLC for engineering construction administration services for Holmes Avenue and Pinhook Creek Bridge improvements, project number 6504 BR07 and ACAA 58618-DE-A195. X is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter agreement with Johnson Associate Consulting Engineers, Inc. for engineering design services for Highway 255 Sanitary Sewer Master Plan, project number 6514 SS03. Y is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter agreement with Tetra Tech, Inc. for on-call engineering design and construction administration services for supervisory control and data acquisition projects, project number 6514 SP03. Z is a request for authorization to advertise and fill the position of Environmental Specialist 3, grade 17 at higher than minimum if necessary. Double A is a resolution authorizing the mayor in agreement with the Science and Engineering Services, Inc. for provision and use of firefighting equipment. Double B is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a parking lease with the City of Huntsville and Broadway West Side Square, LLC. The chair moves for consolidation approval of 15A through J, 15L through N, 15Q through 15 double B.
Second.
I have a motion to consolidate and approve, a second by Mr. Kling. All those in favor of consolidation approval, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? It carries. 15K is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter a special employment agreement between the City of Huntsville and Jimmy W. Wilborn. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Dr. Showers. Mr. Olszewski, do you have questions for Mr. Tom?
I just want to know what the story behind it.
We're asking, Dennis Thompson, City of Huntsville Traffic, we're asking for a one-year contract, Councilman Olszewski, to utilize our retiring signal supervisor on an as-needed basis to help us with the video detection equipment and the adaptive system that the state's eventually going to turn over to us on Governor's Drive. And we'd just like to have his technical assistance and support while we're training somebody to take that spot over.
Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Is Mr. Kling here? Okay, let the record indicate Mr. Kling did not vote. It passed 3-0. O is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a real estate sales contract and option agreement between the City of Huntsville and Dynetics, Inc.
Approve.
Motion by Dr. Shower, second by the chair. Mr. Jeffrion, could you explain this, please?
Yes, members of the council, this is a really wonderful and unique opportunity for the City of Huntsville in connection with the sale of property in Cummings Research Park. Ordinarily, we simply sell acreage to companies who want to develop out there. In this case, Dynetics is seeking to purchase a roughly 14-acre lot and then take out an option on the adjoining 21-acre lot. But the unique part of this is that they're partnering with the City of Huntsville on the adjoining lot. During the period, the option period where they have a right to repurchase, which can be through the year 2028, they will contribute $130,000 towards the development of that lot as recreational area. It will include sand volleyball courts, a disc golf course, several other amenities, and they are contributing the cost of those improvements for the benefit of the City of Huntsville and particularly employees who work in the Research Park area. So the city derives revenue from the sale of one lot and roughly $1.2 million, and then in partnering with Dynetics, develop the second lot for recreational use for some period of time.
Thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. P is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an option agreement to lease real estate between the City of Huntsville and Sealy Property Development LLC. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Dr. Showers. Mr. Jeffrion.
Members of the council, this is another unique opportunity and another partnership with Sealy Property Development, Charlie and Sasha Sealy, who are with us here in the audience tonight. What is on the agenda is an option agreement for a one-year term, and this Sealy Property Development will pay the city $10,000 for that one-year option. If they choose to exercise the option, then we will enter into a development agreement, a copy of which is attached to the option agreement. And under that development agreement, the city would ground lease to them the area, the property at the corner of Jefferson and Holmes Avenue here in the City of Huntsville, to them for a period of 50 years with two options to extend that lease for another 49 years, for a total of 99 years. The proposed development is it's a multi-use development. They're proposing a minimum of 120 residential apartment units on the property. I think they anticipate to build quite a bit more than that, but to be conservative, they're projecting a minimum of 120. They would include 20,000 square feet of commercial retail space and either an additional 50,000 square feet of office space or an additional 50 residential apartment units. Included within that development is a minimum 350 space parking garage with at least 40 of those spaces designated for city use, so long as the parking garage is in existence. And those parking spaces would be available to the city for use on a 24/7 basis. Construction must begin within 6 months from the effective date of the development agreement and be completed within 18 months from the start thereof. And be happy to answer any questions that you might have about that, and the Sealys are here to answer questions of you as well.
Mr. Jofrion, or maybe Mayor Battle, I think it was mentioned earlier, but when we have these things come up, can we kind of get out how much we're putting up and how much the return is so that the public can see what these things are?
Sure, and one of the things I failed to mention to you, this project does involve some public infrastructure improvements as well. the Meridian Street extension between Sprague Street and Jefferson Street will be paid for by the city of Huntsville, as will streetscape improvements along that area. Now, the streetscape improvements were part of our long-range capital plan. They'll just be accelerated under this development agreement.
I was just trying to get a comparison of dollars that we're putting up and dollars that we will get back in tax, you know, just showing the return.
Sure.
Can somebody?
Marie, would you like to?
Yes, sir. The Sealy Properties did do an analysis of their investment, and then the sales tax as well as property tax and employee-based sales tax that would come back to the community. And if you look at those numbers, just based on construction material sales tax, we'll be getting back in the range of $1.4 to $1.6 million just in the first 2 years. So that goes against the 2.8 that was discussed earlier. That's the city's investment in the streetscape improvements and the Meridian extension. And as Peter pointed out, the streetscape improvements are already planned. They've been a part of our streetscape plan for the last 20 years. So it's really just an acceleration of those particular streets instead of an addition into the infrastructure plan.
And then long-term, what is the long-term revenue stream?
Long-term, over 20 years, it's about a $33 million return in taxes.
So in a nutshell, I think it was, somebody said something about 2.8 million, and we get back 32 million. Is that?
In 20 years, yes,
Okay,
sir.
yeah, I was just trying to get the short.
Minus 1.6. 2.8 minus 1.6, then you get back 32 million over 20 years.
Thanks.
Ms. Bostic, while you're there, I remember reading something, maybe there's a 5-story minimum. Why did we pick 5 stories? And I can't remember what the height ordinance is for downtown, but I remember that long discussion about it.
Yes, sir. Actually, there is, in this particular area, there is no height limitation. The
Good.
ordinance was modified so that it's unlimited in the section of downtown that this property is in. There is a maximum height as you get closer to the historic districts, and it ranges from 4 to 6 stories depending on where you are in that district. In this case, 5 stories was actually chosen as a collaborative effort between the developer and the city. We wanted to ensure that we had an appropriate urban massing and height as you come in our gateway to create that kind of urban feel as you come into our downtown. And it was also a good mix as far as the square footages that he was proposing, and as far as how the mix of the garage and the land uses would lay out.
Thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? It carries. We're going to need to change paper. We will take 1 minute. It's not a recess. We're just going to stop for about a minute. We're non-roster communications from the public. Ms. Reed?
Thank you. Well, congratulations on the mayor and to all of you that voted for the tax. President Mark Russell, I had liked your plan very, very well. And I'm glad you presented it to give us 2 thoughts anyway. Of course, I knew the votes was there. The votes has been there all the time, and I could told you who was going to vote for it. The votes were there. And Mr. Shires, I know you prayed hard the other night that I didn't come to your meeting because I think things would have changed. I got so much smoke in my eyes from all that smoke going on up there that I can't even see how to get out of here. Y'all wishy-washy around and ride the fence because Mr. Olszewski, you're working for the Huntsville Utilities now. It don't matter about you.
Ms. Reed, direct all your comments to myself
I'd
or
like
the
to talk
council as
about
a whole.
them a little bit. I'll just write about them. Anyway, let's go back to this downtown redevelopment thing that I really own tonight. What I want to know is when you're going to tear this building down. That's capital improvement. Now, that's an issue, a real issue. That's part of that road money I've been reading about. I'm sure that's going to happen. On that lease, 2.7-acre apartment, about what was going to happen a while ago, you said it was for 50 years, but I don't think the attorney said how much a year they were going to pay for the first 50 years. $100?
Yes, ma'am.
A year for 50 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Mercy. And then the rent would jump to $120,000 annually after that. And I've got to beg to differ a little with that $2.8 million to tearing up all them brick streets down there because it's cost more than that. Anyway, it's Christmas, and I'm not going to argue with you. But I got the paperwork, and I promise you, you already okayed it. You did. You okayed it Nobody really heard too much about it. What's the city going to do with all their vehicles that's parked down there today? Who are you going to pay rent to, and what are you going to do with all them places that the city parks their vehicles? Does anybody know about that?
Yes, ma'am.
You do?
Yeah, we'll answer your questions when you get finished.
Nobody did answer if you ever really had it appraised or not. Did you or did you not, and what did it appraise for? No one ever answered that. I don't think you had an answer for it. Have a very, very Merry Christmas. You can bet 2014 I'll be back stronger, bigger, and badder. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alfano. Could you please go over again the parking spaces?
The number of parking spaces?
Yeah, the city spaces.
Yes, the city will have 40 spaces for so long as the garage is a garage for its use. We have some spaces that are leased out currently on that surface lot to downtown business people, and we'll need some spaces in order to accommodate that need. So we'll retain 40 spaces.
And how much will you pay for the spaces?
We pay nothing for the space.
That's Ms. Reed's question. Do you know the appraisal value of the property?
I don't know the appraised value of the property. We did have it appraised, but I don't know what that number is.
I'll get that for you, Ms. Reed. Mr. Cox.
Jerry Cox, Telstar Circle. Thank you, Mr. President. The first, Mr. President and Colonel Olszewski, as veteran of the United States Army, I wish to respectfully acknowledge the 6 U.S. Army soldiers and the one 19-year-old United States Marine killed in Afghanistan during the last 3 weeks. Mr. President, I'm very pleased with the outcome of the sales tax and the Restore Our Roads project, except I'd asked previously that some of that money be used to expand the shuttle bus service to Saturdays. I'd asked my councilman, Mr. Kling, I told him, I said, Mr. Kling, your district is going to only have indirect benefit from all these roads. None of these roads directly benefit Southwest Huntsville. But we do have a lot of riders of the shuttle bus. In fact, a study that you paid for says that if we extended the shuttle to Saturdays, there'd be 1,200 riders that could take advantage of that mode of transportation. These are riders that's not going to benefit from these roads. They're going out to, I know Councilman Showers, you've always had an interest in the shuttle bus system. When they expanded it, you provided input. You were at the meetings and all. And a lot of your residents, Mr. Showers, needs the Saturday shuttle bus so they can get to work. Some of those people have to work 3 hours on Saturdays just to pay for their transportation, their taxi to get them out on the University Drive to work at the hotels and the restaurants. So 1,200 riders needs Saturday bus service. I told you that a reduced schedule would cost the city $168,000 out of these $30 or $35 million that you're going to get here. $168,000 less what the riders would pay in fares, less what the United States government would reimburse you in transportation funds for that ridership. Nothing happened here. So we're going off now, and all these people's got these roads to ride on, but these 1,200, and many of them in your district, in Mr. No, I'm not supposed to speak to him, in Mr. Kling's district, don't have a shuttle bus to ride on Saturdays. So, it'd be really nice if y'all had thought about them and put Mr. President,
$168,000
less what those riders would pay in fares, less what the federal government would reimburse you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Mr. Kling.
Mr. President, at the last week's work session, I mentioned specifically about the expansion of the public transit system as a way to help reduce capacity on the roads. Also, Mr. Cox had sent me a typed letter, which I had gotten in touch with Tommy Brown, the public transit director, to see about implementing that. And, we're a city as a whole. For just for a second, if you want to talk about district boundaries, technically the district that you and I live in, Mr. Cox, the south boundary of the district at the Parkway junctures to pick up about half of the Bird Springs overpass that's scheduled for construction. But people can ride on it regardless of where they live. But nothing's going to happen immediately. But Mr. Brown and I have talked about public transit and using it as a mechanism to help reduce some of the capacity on the roads. Mr. Brown, anything you want to add or rattle? Yes, no, up and down?
That's certainly something that our report suggested we do, and something that we'd like to look at down the road as federal funding and other funding become available.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Kling. Pastor Johnson.
Pastor T.C. Johnson, St. Luke Church, 1800 Sparkman Drive. I want to thank the president of the council for the meeting, being at the meeting the other night, sat beside me, was very brave to do that.
I figured they might want to take both of us out at the same time.
The mayor did an excellent job on this campaign for this 1%. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but a much needed thing to do. I was a part of the INF treaty, bringing nuclear warheads down, the agreement between the United States and Russia, and one of the KGB taught me that one of Russia's problems with poverty had to do with lack of transportation and roads, so I understand that piece. I think that everyone was surprised, perhaps, knowing that one of the poorest neighborhoods, the depressed neighborhoods, were not against the 1% tax. I think you heard a whole lot of other things besides the 1% tax on the other night. One of the things you heard was that in the first 6 months of the year, out of the 10 zip codes we have, out of the citations given, 3 zip codes got more citations, 05, 10, and 16. Got over 4,000 citations. All the white citizens, 70% of the city, and the rest of the zip code got 3,888. I've been coming down here about that problem, but that's not a problem because it's not a problem to the majority. It doesn't really matter. Now the police force is getting better. I'm not complaining about that. But I wish my mayor would take up a campaign and at least make me feel good and say, we researched the problem and this is not racism, this is not profiling. And that won't cost much money. But since the mayor, the city council, evidently it doesn't matter, it matters to me. Because in those 3 zip codes, you have some of the poorest people in the city. I wish the Chamber of Commerce leadership would look at this and say, let's figure out why this is happening this way. It hasn't happened. I won't be back down here because I don't feel like down here is going to help about it. I do think there is help someplace. Even this is just putting up a banner that says, the Star of the South, Huntsville, Alabama, can raise 1 cent over the whole city. The press community don't even fight about it, even though they hurt the most. But when it comes down to an issue year after year of having an 85 to 90% white police force, and we get over 50% of the citations, and no one researches and says it's the right. I'm not arguing about are the tickets true, but I'm saying I drive all over this city. I drove just to figure out why we needed this 1% tax, and we need it, for we need the road. But people are speeding everywhere I go. But it's not a problem, Mark, to the majority, so it's not a problem. This road's, they're going to drive people right around our community. It's not going to really do that much for our community. The company is coming. If we look at the makeup of the companies that we have here, if you really look seriously in that, it doesn't look like I said. It doesn't look 70-30 at all. We bring more people in on those roads and take them out of the city. This is something that's inside of our city, and we won't spend, because it's only because the people being affected by it are the minority and not the majority. And that's sad in 2013 to have this still happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Johnson. Mr. Lee, if you introduce yourself, please.
Sir, Howell Lee. I work for the Huntsville-Madison County Builders Association, and I want to just take a minute. I know the hour is late to say how proud I am of this council tonight for the statesmanship they showed by standing up and voting together to move this city forward. I think this will be a high water mark for our city, and down the road we'll look back and say this was a very historic night. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to address the council? We're adjourned.